No. This sitting is resumed.
Mr. Speaker, paper is recommitted.
Honourable for Christchurch East.
Mr. Speaker, I'm commanded to lay the Department of Emergency Management's Comprehensive Disaster Management Policy 2022.
Government business resumed.
Honourable for St. James South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And it's my pleasure to rise and join in this debate because I've been given the honour by the people of St. James South to be able to represent them at a time when the world is in probably its greatest chaos, a time when Barbados will be challenged on all sides as to how we are going to generate a path that will allow Barbadians to look forward to a good life, to allow young people to dream, to allow our seniors to live in security and to live in peace. And so I want to thank them for that honor, because I also have the honor to be a part of a party and a government that is about people. That whatever we do when it comes to looking at what is ahead that will face Barbadians, this is where this government thinks. It seeks to anticipate the challenges that the people will encounter and how do you provide for it. It is my pleasure to be a part of this party that has at its center people, and anyone taking a good look, a good analysis of the estimates that were laid in this House would see throughout each ministry, each initiative, that at the heart is people. And so, sir, it is with a sense of wonderment that I think about what was shared yesterday by the member for Christchurch South. I found it difficult to follow some of what he was saying because, sir, a lot of it seemed to be theatrics. A lot of it seems to be play acting, using language in a way to create a picture without the underpinning of facts and truth. And sir, this is why I am joining this debate, to speak about what it is we are seeking to do and what it is we are seeking to establish for the people of Barbados. Because one of the things, sir, that I had to conclude after listening to him is that while the leader of the opposition was sleeping, he did not realize that the world had changed. He didn't realize. And sir, if he had spent his time preparing himself to serve the people of Christchurch South, if he had spent the time preparing himself to be of use to the people of Barbados, there's certain things that he would know and certain things he would do. First of all, he would understand how the budget works and how the estimates are constructed. I was shocked to hear him say yesterday that the Honourable member for St. Michael North East has apportioned to herself $180 million for the Prime Minister's office. One would not believe that he checked the estimates to recognize that there are close to 29 units under the Prime Minister's office that has to be financed. And I do not know which ones he would have wanted to get rid of or underfund by cutting in half the 180 million. But that wasn't the worst of the thing. Let's pretend he doesn't get the chance to read everything. It was for him to compare it to the 108 million given to the People Empowerment Ministry. as though he does not understand that the provision for the poor of Barbados is not only contained in the Ministry of People's Empowerment, it runs throughout every ministry in this government. Sir, let me educate him. Agriculture, more than 40 million to help people get into the feed program and for small farmers to be able to make a living, sir. Let me help him again. In housing, over 60 million to help poor people get affordable housing that they can hold their heads up in dignity, sir. In the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Transformation, $11 million for Export Barbados to help Export Barbados help small business people and young people with ideas to get ready for export so that they can participate in the economic gains in this nation. Sir, this is what we do. In transport and roads, so that people have decent roads running outside of their homes, $30 million. In healthcare, out of that budget, $145 million is dedicated to NCDs, to health promotion, to primary health care, and to nutrition. All of that is for the people at the bottom of our society who need to be lifted up, sir. Youth and sports, $68 million for Youth Advance, for the sports program, for community training, for youth development. The Peace Program and National Crime Prevention Program, over $12 million. And sir, when it comes to education, with $651 million, more than $254 million has been put aside for tertiary education. And why is that important at the level of tertiary education? Because as the Honourable Member for St. Philip West pointed out, how many children passed through the system that did not gain certification? How many children came out without having a career or a pathway from which to earn their money, ending up on a block? Ending up, sir, like that video that has been moving around Barbados today. That our children, when we fail to transform the educational system, they will have no platform for their lives. And therefore, putting $254 million towards the tertiary education is to help us provide a second chance for all of those children who missed it at primary and secondary school. Sir, and I will tell you something else that distressed me was when he was speaking about the ash workers. The honourable members in here have already pointed out that when they were released, that one of the things we did was to make sure that the NIS was paid, but then in the Ministry of Education, we made room for them in the Construction Gateway program. Sir, more than 1,000 were able to get into that program of young people who were able to pursue construction and building classes that would give them the skills that they can make a life for themselves. Sir, I was distressed to think that he felt that the solution for our ash workers was to return them to that same job. I want him to understand those are stopgap jobs. Those are not careers for our people. That is something that you give people to do when they need something urgently, to be able to get food on the table. But if they're going to live out a full life, maximizing their potential, a country owes them the opportunity to get the type of schooling and education that will give them better paying jobs, more sustainable jobs, especially in the area of their personal desires, because they have the skills to make their way in this world. It is only a stopgap, sir. It's only a stopgap. We want more for them, and that is why we work earnestly in the Ministry of Education. And I really want to congratulate the Honourable Member for St. Philip West, because she works tirelessly with a huge program of transformation. There is so much work in that ministry. There's so much that has to be done to transform this educational system. Sir, I really have to congratulate her for the work that she has been doing and her team. So here are some of the things that have been happening while the Honourable Member for Christchurch South was sleeping. You need to understand that there are changing conditions in the world, and that any government that is interested in the welfare of its people will plan and seek to govern in a way to address the conditions which their country will meet. And UNCTAD put out a paper outlining and advising developing countries what are the key things that they need to do in order to cope with the changing conditions that we are facing now in 2024. They outlined that one of the things that must happen is that we have to help countries develop new businesses, that you have to bring more people into entrepreneurship. Barbados is doing that with the Trust Loans Fund. They're doing that with Fund Access. They're doing that with the Enterprise Growth Fund Limited. They're doing that with the feed program in agriculture. They are doing that at every turn in community and youth and sports. At every turn, entrepreneurship is offered in this country to give our people a fighting chance. But it is not only for new businesses, but how do you help your existing businesses to expand and change to meet the conditions that we are facing? And what are those conditions, sir? That the consumption patterns of the public have changed. People now can buy everything they want and bring it in via the internet. That means we have to get our businesses to go global. The other thing that is present in our environment is that there are a lot of technological changes. That means that we have to educate not only this current generation, but including our seniors, to be able to use technology so that they can continue to live their lives safely in their own home, and young people get cutting-edge technology that help them to make good choices and have choices for the careers that they wish to pursue. And the other piece of advice that UNCTAD shared was that these developing countries need to pay special attention to the hostile global trade arrangements that impact how we do business. And so, sir, I recognize that because the Honourable Member was not awake and because he did not understand what is facing Barbados, his conversation took him to talk things that did not make sense, sir. It did not show any connection with the fact that there are changing conditions out there. Had he connected with that, he would have asked us, what are we doing in education to prepare this generation for the fourth industrial revolution that is on the way, and that if we don't catch up with it, we will be left behind. And then he will know why Barbadian children are going to school without breakfast. Because if you do not transition this economy onto that fourth industrial revolution, our businesses will fail, people will not have jobs, and people will face starvation. That is the reality. That is the truth. And this is why there is an urgent movement all across the world for countries to try to upgrade their economies. And there's only one way to do it. You have to do it through education. Without education transformation, there is no future for Barbados. So when he can say, and I don't know how he said it with a straight face, that Barbadians like and prefer the 11 plus, I was wondering which Barbadians he was listening to. You have a system that fails 80% of the children, demolishes their self-confidence, makes them feel that they have failed life at 11 years old. And you want to tell me that as a person aiming for leadership, you believe that Barbadians think that this is the best course of action. I'm here to let him know that that is not true. that Barbadians recognize that something must change about that 11 plus. And what the Ministry of Education is doing is taking the time to build a proper platform, a pathway for the transition, so that we can safely conduct our children through the transition, so that we can make sure that every single child in this country feels that he can learn, knows that he can learn, that he can find his own special set of skills, and know that there's a Barbados that is providing for him not only at primary, but providing for him even before primary. We're going to be providing for early childhood education. Every child will get to go to a nursery school, and get to primary school, and get to secondary school, and then be able to get to a tertiary institution that is going to help them to be able to build a good life. And that is what we are here for. One of the things that is really important, sir, is that if children are going to maximize their potential, and if that potential is to mean something going forward in terms of them being able to earn well and therefore provide for themselves and their children the things that they dream of, the things that they desire, it is important that the educational system, as was shared by the Honourable Member for St. Philip South, that system must embrace education in technical skills. That this is important. And why is that, sir? There was a study done by Professor Andrew Downs looking at the labour market demand in Barbados and where labour was at. And one of the things that he tracked from 1976 was the fact that over a period all the way through to 2010, there was a shift in how we were educating our children. And one of the things that he outlined was the fact that 70% of the enrollment at UE were females, and only 30% was male. And the question was asked, why was this? And it was discovered that males actually prefer technical training. But unfortunately, Barbados did not have enough capacity to offer males the technical training that they were interested in, from which they wanted to be able to make a living. And sir, a lot of that contributed to why we have so many young men on the block, because we've not been able to give them the technical training.
I remember has 2 more minutes.
2.
Time flies. Yeah, time flies.
It does. Thank you very much. And so, sir, what we have decided to do, we recognize that it was important to expand our capacity to offer technical training. And so at SJPI, there has been a massive expansion of the programs which they have been doing. And so we're able to offer not only the usual technical skills, but they've also looked at things such as mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. They have labs that help youngsters to learn how to take care of the electrical vehicles. They also do specializations in agriculture, building studies, and printing, human ecology. And this is important. BVTB, the Barbados Vocational Training Board, again, offering the technical skills in photovoltaics, welding and metal fabrication, cuisine, tractor operations, and the backhoe. And one of the things, sir, that I'm really pleased to have found in the ministry was the Dukes and Hope project, and that there has been significant progress in the building out of the Dukes facility to allow agriculture to flourish in Barbados. But what kind of agriculture? Smart agriculture. Agriculture that would take us into the future. And very shortly, we'll be breaking ground on the HOPE project, which will allow our tertiary institutions to transfer all of their agricultural training at HOPE in St. Lucie. And sir, this is what will make the difference to everyone, because it is going to provide us with a wide platform in order to build out the skills and opportunities for people. But we're doing more than just simply offering those. What has been happening in the tertiary section, we are sitting down with SJPI, BCC, etc. And what we're doing, we're looking at whether the programs are fit for purpose, whether the way in which we organize it meets the need of the student. We're looking at what do we need to do with the courses to make them fit better to their lives. And then one of the most important things that we started discussing is how do we make sure that before they leave the institution, they understand how to commercialize that skill, not only to get a job, but if they needed to start a business. That this now has to be part of what we're going to be doing.
Your Honour Member can wind up.
So, sir,
Wind down.
as I wind up, I want to say to Barbados, education now has to become in the forefront of the minds of every Barbadian. Because for us to make the transition from nursery all the way to seniors, must be able to embrace the changes and learn new skills and stay in learning mode if this country is going to prosper. And therefore, it is important that everyone puts their hand to the plow to help make this work. I end with this. I found it very strange that the opposition leader kept making this statement, that he has the right to be wrong. But I want to say to him that our people cannot afford the cost of his errors, either in judgment or his errors in fact. And I want to say to him that while all of us will make errors, while we are seeking to transform Barbados and we have to move quickly because of the urgency of the hour, sometimes when we're running with the milk, some of the milk will spill. But what we are prepared to do is to wipe up the spill and make sure that we keep moving to make sure that we give to Barbadians what they need to be able to live their best life. I'm obliged to you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank my colleagues, I want to thank our leader, and I also want to thank the myriads of civil servants who work hard to produce these estimates and who work hard to turn them into a living reality. I'm obliged to you, sir.
Honourable Member Sir Michael West.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on this occasion and I'm mindful that as one of the younger members of this House, not the youngest because I was shocked to hear that my colleague, the Honourable Member from St. Michael North, is only 38 years old. But I am thankful, Mr. Speaker, I'm thankful to the Father above, who is the only omnipotent one that I can think of, and like what the Honourable Member from Christchurch South said yesterday. I also give thanks to the constituents of St. Michael West for putting me in this honourable house so that I can give contribution to these budget debates. Now, sir, I want to echo the chorus of approval of this budget that was presented to the nation by our Honourable Prime Minister on Monday, coined as the people-centric budget. Now, sir, I would not expect the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to understand or even support a people-centric budget. Because after all, he has a natural aversion to people, especially the ones in his constituency. Now, as presented by the Honourable Prime Minister, she talked about the macroeconomic indicators that we face when we came into office in 2018. The macro indicators matter. And for context, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to beat a dead horse by bringing up the previous administration, but for context, I lived overseas for 12 years. I came back to the family business in 2007, a 100-year-old business in Cheapside, opposite the Cheapside market, sir. A prosperous business. Sir, those who feel it know it. I could tell you that when the disaster of the tanking foreign reserves hit this country, not a natural disaster, but a man-made one. There was a queue from here to Fontainebleau to get foreign currency, sir. At that time, the reserves were about 300 odd million. The honourable member from Christchurch, the Central, could give you the exact figure. But it was daunting. Business could not get foreign exchange to pay for goods to bring in this country. And the thing about it is that you have a prosperous business that is doing well. And that is the impediment to success. It was very frustrating. And we could talk about all the other things. The Honourable Member for St. Peter mentioned some of them. The NAS and the fact that that government hadn't put in contributions for 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, Honourable Member. I mean, does the Honourable Opposition Leader he has a convenient memory, but we are here to remind him, sir. That is why we have to go over this nightmare scenario over and over again for context. But sir, I am pleased with the people-centric budget that we have here, because this is not the macro, but the micro, sir. And as I told you, I work in Cheapside along with vendors. And these vendors I've worked with for 12 years had businesses that were thriving, which is why legislation like the vendors bill that we passed in this honorable chamber, sir, that gave dignity to the vendors in this country, that they would not have to be hiding about to sell their goods to support their family, sir. That's what I'm talking about, the micro. But sir, since we came into office in 2018, we stabilized the economy, we saved the dollar, we commandeered this small island developing state into 11 periods of significant growth. These are facts, Mr. Speaker. The whole truth and nothing but the truth, sir. That's right. And as the Honourable Prime Minister said, we are going upwards and onwards. And as some people like to say, up and on, brother.
That is correct. Perfectly correct.
That's right.
I remember.
Mr. Speaker, economic activity and rising GDP is of extreme importance to allow this country, after having to climb out of a massive hole left by the previous administration, a hole that it could probably drive about 3 garbage trucks and 5 buses through, if they had them. Sir, we need growth. We need it to continue to deliver a high level, a high standard of public services that our people have grown accustomed to. Sir, we need it to keep our standards of living high, to keep our standing on the Human Development Index high. We need growth to continue to support the QEH. And I am very encouraged and thankful for the announcement made by the Honourable Member yesterday from St. Michael North that we will be hiring 250 doctors and nurses to help alleviate that problem and offer better patient care to our citizens, sir. Because that's what we want. The average Barbadian wants efficient and effective delivery of public services. And that's what growth will allow us to do, sir. Also, I am encouraged that we will tackle the scourge of breast cancer that has rampaged our society by purchasing a linear accelerator, sir. This is a long time coming for the women in our country. And that we will revise the screening guidelines targeted to our demographics, which will help us to attain world-class 5-year survival rates, upwards of 90%, sir. That is what our women deserve. Sir, we need growth to continue to deliver free education from primary to tertiary. And I, like everybody else here, I am shocked that the Honourable Member from Christchurch South is enacting his convenient memory that administration abandoned the principles of that great party as it pertains to free education. Sir, I applaud the Ministry of Education in the training of young Barbadians in the discipline of cybersecurity through joint partnerships with North America, I think specifically Canada, allowing these young Barbadians to get gainful employment in technology jobs. I applaud you, Minister of Education. Barbados has a long history of exporting talent. You can remember the days, Mr. Speaker, when esteemed Barbadian nurses, teachers would go up to New York and the UK, and they would be ambassadors. We didn't have to appoint the ambassadors back then. We had ambassadorship provided by average Barbadians who used to excel and carry forward our flag on the world stage, sir. We could get back there again. That's our natural resource, sir. We need growth to protect the vulnerable, the elderly, people with disabilities. The commitment by the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elderly Care to amalgamate those agencies under its remit will help to deliver efficient and effective help and service to Barbadians, sir. I applaud you. That is what our people want. Mr. Speaker, as we go upward and onward and continue to grow the Barbadian economy, we, through this budget, sir, have aligned ourselves with the hairdressers, the nail techs, the vendors. These are the people that make up the heart of our economy, the micro, sir. And I am encouraged that we will not make the errors of other jurisdictions in history. We will not repeat their mistakes. And allow growth to be fueled by venture capitalists and stock markets, leaving people behind. As the Honourable Prime Minister would say, not about here. This government is morally responsible to craft policies to bring everyone along, Mr. Speaker. So, as this great nation records through the many corporations on its shores, record profits, sir, in the billions in some instances, I want to urge those corporations to do right by their employees. As the Prime Minister would say, share the bounty, share the burden, sir. You can't be making billions of dollars in a corporation and then your own employees can't even afford to buy the products that you're selling, sir. So which is why legislation like the Labor Clauses Bill that the Honourable Member from St. Peter brought to the House matters. It hurts that we have to legislate good behavior. There are a few, not all, but corporations need to be mindful that you're making money. You got to share. And this government will set the tone, sir. Another thing that I am proud of is the establishment of the trust loan, sir. Because I could tell you that vendors had it rough in Bridgetown after COVID. I know they wouldn't mind me calling some of their names. I Drew, Jalove, Yaskin, Ruben. These are vendors around Bridgetown. Some of y'all probably know them. They were successful, put their kids through school, but COVID mashed them up, sir. And that the trust loan helped them, some of them, to get back on their feet, sir, to provide a lifeline. And that is what this government is about, sir. Not only just the macroeconomic indicators, but the micro, the people of this country, the heart, the soul, the crust. The Prime Minister is very correct in highlighting the scenario where the average person could get a car in under a month, but can't get the money for the small business, sir. So I am encouraged by the efforts of this government to review some of those regulations that make it more difficult for them to access commercial loans, sir, when it comes to investment in their business. I am also encouraged by the creation of Business Barbados, sir, because that is another impediment to our people, and it frustrates them. You want to do the right thing. You want to pay your taxes. But you can't do it in a proper timing, and then the bills piling up. You want to help yourself. So this is a step in the right direction for creating ease of business in this country. So I want to encourage the government to continue to lower the cost of living. We've done a lot so far, as much as we can. It's out of our control. Things like capping the freight rates on goods, things like the expanded basket of goods, they help. 7.5% VAT on 250 kilowatt, it helps. But we need to find other inventive ways. And I know that the government is looking at increasing and strengthening the relationships with the South-South, going to non-traditional markets for goods so that we can complete our target of 25% import substitution by 2025. We can do so by strengthening our links with Brazil, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic. A lot of these goods go through North America and come back down. We can go direct, and it will be cheaper. So I want to encourage the government to continue to strengthen those trading ties, which will be beneficial to our people.
The honourable member has 2 more minutes.
So I believe in my heart that the future is bright for this country. We have a booming construction sector that employs thousands of Barbadians. As the honourable member for Christchurch West said yesterday, there are too many to call. But soon from now, we will have a problem with skilled labor. And I'm thankful for the program that the Ministry of Education has launched with the Construction Gateway Initiative. And I want to encourage more young Barbadians to sign up for that. Because, sir, as the American president, one American president said one time, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. So I want to encourage young Barbadians to take advantage so that when this growth happens, that they can take part in the boom and not get left behind. But it's up to them, sir, to take advantage of the opportunities that we present to them. Sir, Barbados continues to be a guiding light in the world. Led by our Honourable Prime Minister, we have positioned our country as the moral authority on the issue of climate change and climate justice through the Bridgetown initiative and other things. Sir, as the Honourable Prime Minister said, if we invest in hotels, we need to invest in the coastline because there are thousands of jobs there. So we need to find the money to invest there. We're borrowing the money to protect our investments, sir. That is what we're doing. I am hopeful. I am positive about the future. And despite the naysayers on the other side, our future is bright, sir. I have the utmost confidence in our people, not only because of the economic factors, it's the resilience, our resilience that we can't engineer, the resilience of our people, sir, that have been handed down from our foreparents. It's in our DNA. This nation will continue to reach higher heights. This beautiful Barbados and her people will remain the jewel of the Caribbean. I'm obliged to you, sir.
Honourable member for St. John.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to say blessings on all of those persons in St. John who are responsible for having me here today, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today I rise to deliver chapter number 2 of my story. I grew up in a village, Mr. Speaker, and they told me
Your
that...
mic is on, honourable member?
It is on, Mr. Speaker. They told me that dogs bark at people they don't know. And I'm a firm believer of that. And people from George Street keep barking and barking at the Barbados Labour Party. Mr. Speaker, I was looking for this document.
One has to be very careful how you couch those words. You don't want to appear that you're using unparliamentary language in relation to the
No,
adage.
Mr. Speaker.
I just thought that you just be mindful.
I have a cousin living on George Street.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
So when I go there, the dogs don't know me well. Mr. Speaker, I was looking for this document home, and you guide me if I should make this a document of the House because this is fiction. I couldn't find it, and I asked my PA this morning to go to the library, and she called back and said, Minister, I can't find the document in the ministry. I said, move to the fiction section. She said, yes, Minister, I found it. This, Mr. Speaker, is the 208 Youth Manifesto of the Democratic Labour Party. And last week or 2 weeks ago, a former minister took a full page in one of our dailies to suggest the work that they're doing. I am saying today, Mr. Speaker, and I have some young people here from Youth Parliament, democratically, a pledge to young people of Barbados. Mr. Speaker, from 2008. You know that this document was pulled down from their website? And you must ask why. And there's some things in here that I want to highlight. 2008. And not a single thing. 17 pages of lies that were foisted on our young people in this country. This, the Democratic Labour Party Youth Manifesto, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, Mr. Speaker. And on page 13, we organized the National Sports Council to reach out more effectively to schools and communities. The only thing that came from the Sports Council was a marriage from 2008 to 2018, and they're talking about reorganizing. Mr. Speaker, as I speak, we're going through the process of dealing with the restructuring of that. On page 14, Mr. Speaker, make grants to successful sporting organizations, and I will get to that a little further. Not a single cent was paid to any single club or organization in this island, and it is written in this manifesto. Page 6, Mr. Speaker. And this is a howler, absolute howler. The Democratic Labour Party commits to high-quality education for Barbados, free for all, from preschool to tertiary. Can you imagine that? When they talk about fiction, which party cut the university fees for our young people? But it is documented here, Mr. Speaker, in the Youth Manifesto. In this, they have said that they are committed to that. On page 2, Barbados needs to provide better opportunities for young people to realize their potential. I will show them what a government will do, exactly what they're saying here, Mr. Speaker. And this was a manifesto that stood for 10 years and not a single, I was working in the ministry, so I should know. Not a single thing that is written in this document came to fruition on this island under the same Minister of Sports that took out a full-page ad. Same minister. I don't even know, Mr. Speaker, if we should put this anywhere. Mr. Speaker.
It has to be made a document that goes here.
Unfortunately so. Unfortunately so. I don't think that people, sorry? It is crazy. Mr. Speaker, I want to share really and truly what a government is doing to move our young people in Barbados forward as it relates to sports and as it relates to other areas. And I'll try to do it within my allotted time. Mr. Speaker, we are in the process of converting the old National Sports Council into a sports secretariat for all of the federations on the island. Because there's a need to help those federations in terms of clerical work, in terms of training, in terms of various things that are required from these federations to make them functioning and viable for what they're supposed to. The mini-stadia, Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of talk about the mini-stadia. And I was told that the mini-stadia will disrupt community life. The Honourable Minister of Education is here. I think the majority, if not all, of our schools are fenced, Mr. Speaker. But guess what? The community are able to access the grounds. At Mount Tabor, St. John, Sherburne, and Venture are able to access the pasture to play sports. But all of a sudden, fencing these locations will mean that we are disrupting community life. Mr. Speaker, these things have at least 9 or 10 gates attached to all of them that are not locked, that provides entry at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 11 o'clock at night. But they're finding problems with that. The last time I went to a fair at Mount Tabor School, Mr. Speaker, they made in excess of $10,000 because they were able to take a gate. And I've mentioned before in the well, ask the St. Michael's School, if not for the fencing, what would have happened to Glow Sports and the money that they raised to assist. The lighting project, Mr. Speaker, is to help our youngsters who want to practice late and those persons who want to exercise late. 27 out of 38 fields are lit right now, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to finish the rest. You heard the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, indicating that there will be 2 tracks, one in the north and one in the east. And I'm suggesting here that we have 26 acres in St. John that can assist with that 400 track, but that is a different story. Mr. Speaker, there's a 400 track being constructed at Wildy that will take some of the pressure off the National Stadium when that is completed. It will also take some pressure off the Usain Bolt. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, the Usain Bolt is a partnership between government and the University of the West Indies that you see now BSAC is taking care of. Road tennis. Prime Minister mentioned road tennis. Road tennis is our indigenous sport, Mr. Speaker. And we have a road tennis academy that was launched last week with 26 U16 individuals at Blenheim, Mr. Speaker. And this is to ensure that we can grow the sports, we ensure that those persons, and if you see talent, Mr. Speaker, the talent in this young cohort is absolutely outstanding. Coaches. Prime Minister mentioned there's a need for us to export coaches in road tennis, and we have started the process of doing that. We have started a coaches program, but now we're going to ratchet up that to ensure that we have more persons involved in the process. Community gyms. The non-communicable diseases that are hitting us, diabetes and all of the rest of it, we need to have people mobile. And hence the community gyms are being put in place all across this country to facilitate that. The netball stadium project, Mr. Speaker, and soon we will not be talking about the netball stadium because this is going to be a multi-purpose facility at Waterfords that will accommodate netball, basketball, and volleyball. And I dare say probably in a month's time or so, Mr. Speaker, that particular project will start at the location. Community golf, seen as one of these elitist sports. Only this morning I had a conversation with the president of the Golf Association to see how we can work together to expand this program across the island so that youngsters from in St. John and St. Andrew and St. Lucie can have access to coaching as far as this is concerned. Expanding our community coaches program. If we're gonna have a groundswell of sports on island, it means that we must have persons who are prepared to go and coach these youngsters all across the island. And we have started the process with the football, where we had 22 or so footballers that we coach up, asked them to go back to the program to make sure that they can find a group, hone their skills, but yet still provide the basics to those youngsters who are involved in the different sporting disciplines. A program that I'm sure my colleagues sitting to my left will applaud. We had an elderly swim program last year. We're bringing it back this year, Mr. Speaker. We had in excess of 900 elderly persons swimming on Browns Beach. And we figured that we need to replicate that again. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, Swim for Life. So we have at one end the seniors, at the other end we have the juniors, 6 to 16, who will be involved in that Swim for Life program. Mr. Speaker, they talk about assisting young people. A cricket academy. We have 5 practice Pitches being prepared at Blenheim. We're now waiting for 2 bowling machines to complete that. Mr. Speaker, this is a project that will see us dealing predominantly with youngsters at Blenheim to ensure that they have all the cricket skills that we can move them up to national, regional, and maybe international as well. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned the 400 track, but adjacent that 400 track, we're also constructing a badminton and squash facility at Wildy. So we're building out the compound at Wildy to make it a full sporting complex. Training for national federations. I mentioned the secretariat, but we're also looking to provide training for the national federations in terms of how to prepare for tournaments if they're doing, if they're bringing teams to the island. It's an opportunity for them to see what exactly they need to put in place. Mr. Speaker, these are some of the things that are happening in sports, Mr. Speaker. There is also a youth captain training program that is being rolled out maybe in the next month or so, over 6 weeks, where we're looking to provide an opportunity for youngsters that we identify that can benefit from this particular program, who we see as future captains of cricket teams. And I think that this will all go well for the development of cricket. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister mentioned the community block tournament that we're looking to stage early in the new financial year. What is this going to do? Mr. Speaker, it is going to provide an opportunity for those youngsters who are on the blocks across Barbados to merge and to engage with other individuals to be involved in this process. 2 things. It is looking to provide that structured sporting activity, but it is also an opportunity to rekindle and to give some new life to the BCL cricket program, Mr. Speaker, and I really look forward to doing that. Mr. Speaker, like I said, this is a list of things that are happening in the new financial year. We're expanding some of the things that are in this current financial year. Our mentorship program, Mr. Speaker, we launched this last year. We had an excess of 50 persons registered, but then we came down to 47 persons, 47 mentors, 47 mentees. We are looking to more than double that this year. I'm pushing maybe for 100 mentors to assist our young people on a journey that we believe they need to be on, a path of growth and development. And this mentorship program is one such initiative coming from the ministry that I know will help to guide the process. Mr. Speaker, this financial year, for the first time, we launched as well our Moving On project. The Moving On project is targeting those persons in the class 4s who are now exiting the primary school system and going into the secondary. And this is providing an opportunity for them to take some skills with them that will allow them to be able to function inside of the secondary system, but also to impact some of the others who are in that particular program. Money management, anger management, conflict resolution, leadership. These are the programs that are embedded in this Moving On program. Mr. Speaker, Project Dawn. And we had a situation where this Democratic Labour Party that got in St. John and said that there's nothing for unstructured persons on this island. And hence, when I started, Mr. Speaker, I said dogs bark at people they don't know. And we have a situation where in 2008, they killed Project Oasis. Absolutely shut down Project Oasis. And all of those guys who reside on the blocks or who lime across the blocks in this island were forgotten. But then they tell you that they care. And then they produced this in 2008, this nonsense that they call a youth manifesto. But I speak to Project Dawn, a new initiative. There's a block committee at the ministry, 3-man block committee. Marcus Stephen, Shane Haynes, sorry, Mr. Speaker, I know, and Hassani Newton. And these guys are tasked with going on blocks across this island to ascertain the needs of those youngsters on the blocks, to gather information in terms of how we should treat to these guys and ladies who are on the blocks across this island. Mr. Speaker, today I am pleased to report that almost 200 blocks were visited on this island. 17 businesses were started out of this particular program from youngsters on the blocks. We launched this program in the Honourable Member for St. Andrews constituency, where 20 plus acres of land were provided to men on the blocks at Belle Plaine to farm. He will speak to what is happening at that location. Mr. Speaker, we have provided technical assistance where those guys who want to get involved in landscaping were provided with an opportunity to source equipment for their landscaping project. The only thing we ask is that they register a business and come back to us. Let us see that you are serious and this is something that we will assist you with. Mr. Speaker, sir, similar to Project Oasis, where the Democratic Labour Party said that all of the guys who we gave landscaping equipment to sold the equipment as soon as we turn our back. At the time, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Education asked us to go to the same youngsters that we assisted to help with cleaning the schools for the new school term. Every single block turned up to clean schools. The same people that sold the equipment turn up to clean schools, Mr. Speaker. But what is happening this year? We are now tasked with assisting the Honourable Minister of Education with cleaning her school plants, and we have reached out to those guys who we have provided landscaping equipment to. Mr. Speaker, they are now engaged, some of them engaged at the National Sports Council to assist us with cleaning those schools.
You all remember has 2 more minutes.
Wow, Mr.
Time
Speaker,
flies, my friend.
I am now getting started.
I remember time flies.
No, I understand that. Mr. Speaker, this program will be expanded, and I know that we will see the benefits. For the first time in 12 years last year, Mr. Speaker, we had a National Youth Award that will be repeated this year because we need to highlight the positive things that our young people are doing on island. And I take this opportunity to invite the nation to nominate those persons who you think are fit to be involved in our National Youth Awards. The Youth Hotline, Mr. Speaker, is another initiative that is happening. Mr. Speaker, there's a youth MC program that we are initiating at the ministry, started last year, to provide an opportunity for our young people to be able to stand up and to present at any function on this island. And that is something, Mr. Speaker, that I am looking forward to seeing again. All of our programs, Mr. Speaker, are going to be expanded through additional satellite locations across the country. The Youth Achieving Results, the National Summer Camp Program. We provide leadership training to youth and community organizations. The Barbados National Youth Parliament comes under us as well, Mr. Speaker. We have gone into the prison system to provide an opportunity for those persons who are in our target population to reintegrate into the mainstream society by providing training in programs that are coming from Palmerine, Mr. Speaker, and these programs are oversubscribed. So, Mr. Speaker, we do not need a fake manifesto in order to impact the lives of our young people on island. We are doing it on a day-by-day basis at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment. And we will continue. The Honourable Member would have mentioned that there's a brain drain. Mr. Speaker, my ministry is also the Ministry of Aviation, because I don't understand how you can give the young people in Barbados wings and then you're telling them don't fly. It don't make any sense to me, Mr. Speaker. So we will continue, and I want to thank the staff at the ministry for the hard work that they're doing year in and year out to impact the lives of our young people, because our mantra there is that we must facilitate the needs and aspirations of all young people on this island. Mr. Speaker, I am obliged.
Honourable Member for St. Thomas.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to say we are extremely proud today in Barbados for the astute leadership of our Honourable Prime Minister, the Honourable Member for St. Michael Northeast. And if I had my own way, she will now be called the Right Honourable Prime Minister, because she deserves it. And when you put a woman in front, Mr. Speaker, that woman with the support of all of those around her, male, female, the young, and so on, and she continues to do a good job, she should be honored and respected. I hail her as the first female prime minister in this country who has come and made excellent progress in the development of this country when she took over in the harshest of times, financially and otherwise. I say kudos to her and the team, not only the team that are members of parliament, but the people of Barbados who had put confidence in her to be able to win all 30 seats in the government, not once, but twice. Her performance will have to be excellent, and that of the people of Barbados, and we are proud, Mr. Speaker. And I say that from my heart because we just celebrated International Women's Day last week, and we have to hail our female leaders as we have our males in this society and wherever else in the world. She is a prime minister of class who is recognized across the world for her role, particularly in climate change fight. And every community, every society that she has visited, and those who do not even know her but have read it on the internet, are talking about this honourable member, the Prime Minister of Barbados. May God continue to bless her and the people of this country and the rest of the world. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also want to indicate, sir, that the legacy of the Barbados Labour Party continues. We have had astute leaders of the past who built this society, and I must say, the Right Honourable Errol Walton Barrow, if you will let me call his name, sir, was a member of the Barbados Labour Party too, but when he changed, he made a tremendous difference in this country. And now today we are saddled with a member who will be here with us. And I'm not even going to go down the word to talk about how often he has been in this honourable chamber defending and lending support to those wonderful people of Christchurch South who were always accustomed to proper representation by their members of parliament. That's right. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am not happy today. Our leaders of this Barbados Labour Party of the past were visionary. They were honest and upright. They were progressive. They were astute leaders. And I don't have to call their names, you know all of them, within the past many years. I also want to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, our leader continues to lead by example, and the people of Barbados are extremely proud to have a leader of the caliber of the honourable member for St. Michael Northeast. Mr. Speaker, sir, we saw articles in the paper last week about persons who have criticized this Barbados Labour Party, and some of those Democratic Labour Party members who went underground for the past 6 or so years are now coming like flies in the night to be able to say what they did. That honourable member of the Democratic Labour Party who became the Minister of Youth had a project called Endless Possibilities. And I always call it here, sir, endless impossibilities, because we can't talk of young people who got employed. If it is a handful, Mr. Speaker, there were a lot. That honourable member, sir, almost gave me connections. When that honourable member with his team went to Rock Hall Freedom Village, with teams of people from his constituency in Christchurch, and not a boy or girl, woman or man got a piece of employment in extending that Rock Hall Freedom Village. And that Freedom Village, by the time 2 years had elapsed thereafter, everything with the handrails and everything started to fall apart, Mr. Speaker. More millions of dollars belonging to the government would have gone into that failed project because it was not properly done or managed. So when I hear of those things, I could also talk, Mr. Speaker, sir, of a number of other areas where we had challenges because the housing neighborhood, the housing neighborhood project that was assigned for Greenfields, the Garden Land, Allen View, and there was one other community in the St. Michael community, sir. The Castle, sir. The millions of dollars, I think there were 30 million US dollars, 60 million Barbados dollars. None was spent in Allen View, Mr. Speaker, sir. Greensfields remained the same way, sir. Castle without. And the then member of parliament for the city told his constituents, and they have the correspondence, say which part of your house want fixing. We're going to change the roof. They were not a part of it in that way. And those communities remained impoverished until this Barbados Labour Party came and said, we are refurbishing people's houses. Rural development and urban development will undertake upgrading because those people deserve waterborne facilities, sir. They deserved all the services that we enjoy because we have the position with the funding that we work for daily to be able to do it, but those persons don't have the employment. This Barbados Labour Party in 2018, Mr. Speaker, came in as a government and transformed and changed all the round. We heard about the sewage already on the streets in Christchurch. I'm not going to talk about that. We had buses that were breaking down here, there, and everywhere. Roads falling apart, Mr. Speaker, now drive through Barbados. I became a little confused at first, about 2 years ago, because I saw St. Andrew getting something, St. Peter getting something with the roads and projects. I am thankful today, sir, the people of St. Thomas who have sent me here to represent their interests not once or twice or 3 or 4 times or 5 times, sir, 6 times, because I am committed to the cause. And I will come here to this honorable chamber, sir, every week, every month, every time that we are meeting, because I have the interests of the people who put me here at heart. The honorable member is absent again today. We came here yesterday and sat to listen to him for 5 hours and did not even have the courtesy to be here as the honorable leader of the opposition. But you know what? If he had had the common sense that I do not have, or I have not gotten, having never ever sat in a fifth form in the school yet, the reasoning would have said, make the president that you have just superseded a senator. It would have made a difference. Mr. Speaker, sir, they walked out. Yesterday, 2 ladies remain, perhaps like me, out of respect, faithful to the cause. And therefore, I am hurting today to see and to hear some of what was said yesterday about this budget that has transformed the Barbados under the Barbados Labour Party, that has had a track record of the highway to way, tenantries first before purchase act. And now these projects that are coming up, the Youth Advanced Corps, to lift our young people out of crime and violence and poverty, and putting down on platform the training programs. And I am so proud, Mr. Speaker, today. I spoke last week, I spoke last month, I spoke last year, I spoke 4 years ago to ordinary police officers. And I'm not saying that in any derogatory way. I said, sir, I have so many young people who would love to join the police force. But you know what? They say, ma'am, the salary ain't nothing. The salary ain't much, and you work too hard. I am proud to see the changes that this honorable member, our Prime Minister, has put in place to ensure that there's security for the police officers. Not only for them, sir, but also for the nurses and the doctors and the teachers and all others who deserve to get an opportunity to improve themselves. We know, Mr. Speaker, sir, of some experiences in the last administration too, because you know, Mr. Speaker, sir, I keep my notes. And I would remember a disabled man who was robbed according to what the record said, of his property. So we can't talk character and all that, and don't make sure that we look after our own and that we live that upright life that as leaders in this society, people can say, especially young people, bright people, they don't have to be rich because we have not come from any rich environments. You remember for St. Peter came through the hornpipe like us. But we are here to represent the interests of all Barbadians. And let them, St. Lucie, sir, St. Peter too. But we are here to let people know we can come here and be honest and forthright and represent your interests because we understand, we have been there, we have worked along with others, and we are going to make the tremendous change. And it is happening, sir. You look around here, all of us, or the majority of us, have come out of poverty. But we have determined when we reach here, we are going to reach back into society and uplift these young people, uplift these older people, and give them an opportunity or lay a platform that they can build on. So when I speak, Mr. Speaker, sir, and people talk about, the honourable member for the Christchurch South talked about corruption, I have in my hand, sir, and if I had the opportunity to go to the campaign house to search the box, I would have brought a file of things in here today that tell me what is maintenance and home services, sir. The chandeliers that were at Government House are still missing. And the document is here. Where are they now?
Honourable, there's a document in the house. You make this a document.
I can make it a document of the house, sir. I believe it does have it already because it was not easy, especially when I had my parliamentary questions, because I know what it is like to be in poverty, and I know what it's like to be honest and upright, because our parents and foreparents and the villages taught us to be honest and upright and godly more than anything else.
Remember, you're making a document.
I have it here, sir. You can have it.
What year is it?
What year, sir?
Yes, please. Yes, for the record.
2012, sir.
I just want for the record.
Oh, yes, sir. Well, and then we hear about a Transtech document here again for one vehicle for somebody. Another one here again, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for the opposition cannot come in here and speak that, sir. And I have a whole lot of things, sir, notes and everything else. And I came with parliamentary questions to question the summer camps that were free. When a member of parliament, we understood, was able to raise $300 and something thousand over a 5-week period for feeding young children. All kinds of corruption went on. And we have come in here as honest, upright members of this society to serve the people of Barbados. So I am proud, Mr. Speaker, this evening, sir, to be able to associate myself with the wonderful things that this government has done with the vision and the guidance and the collaborative approach by an honourable Prime Minister who understands her role and has worked with us together as a team to make a difference in the lives of Barbadians. Mr. Speaker, sir, the police, I said, are happy to have known that they're being recognized and they're going to be given opportunities that they can excel. The nurses, the teachers, the disabled, and not only that, sir, my favorite people that I am in the category too, the aged, sir. I might be a little disabled sometimes, and that comes with the age. But, sir, I'm talking about the aged, our senior citizens who have built this country, who are out there suffering in a way. And the Democratic Labour Party never ever, it was this Barbados Labour Party under the astute leadership of the former member and right honourable member for St. Peter, who helped to start up a project called, a ministry called Social Transformation. And out of it has come the Senior Games, where seniors go and enjoy themselves every year, and the BAMSAC and this person and the next group and so are all in it together because our seniors must remain healthy. We are suffering with too many comorbidities, too many diseases that are brought on in old age in particular. We want our older people to remain healthy because they are living longer and better. And therefore, that touched my heart. When we see the Youth Advanced Corps, and to hear the results of those young people who never had a chance to be able to go out there and be properly disciplined, who never got a chance to write a CXC because their parents were so impoverished like mine that they could not even pay for the CXCs. We heard about the results last week, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the great performance of those young people in their studies, not only in the academics, but their discipline and the ideals they have and the young businesses they're trying to develop. That is what I call progressive development of a party, the Barbados Labour Party, that means a better life for our people as it lives to that motto that has been there for many, many years. God bless our pioneers, because without them, the pioneers in the Labour Party in particular. But then again, when I studied the right excellent Walton Barrow, he was a Barbados Labour Party supporter too, but he came here with a different vision, and he developed the Democratic Labour Party different and contrary to the Honourable Member for Christchurch South, who has not been in this honourable chamber for so many times before he demitted office without even giving us the courtesy or telling his constituency, I gone. He would say, I am going. I beg your pardon, sir. He wouldn't say in slang like me, I am going. I have had enough of the Barbados Labour Party. Already the Democratic Labour Party has shown him, I have had enough of you two, because they walked out yesterday evening. I left two decent ladies there, not that the others weren't decent, but left them there because they were like me, faithful to the end. Faithful to the end. Mr. Speaker, sir, the unemployed, they get the benefits too. And all sectors in this society have been able to benefit by this Barbados Labour Party because we have a compassionate, caring government under the astute leadership of the Honourable Member for St. Michael North East. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also want to say that the projects that are going now, let me get to the disabled or the differently able, because they too are the ones that deserve extra attention, and this Labour Party has been extending it to them and their parents and recognizing it is not easy to raise a child that is challenged. The Honourable Minister for Education, who is carrying on the mantra that was left by then the minister in the times when we were there, when we had started to look at reform, and that's where EduTech came from. That is where the testing for those children who were hard of hearing came about with Dr. Ben Stabler. Those are the areas when we looked at upgrading school meals and what was being offered to our children as meals. That is when we were paying the fees for University of the West Indies students, particularly poor people's children like we were. And that government came in 2008 and turned everything around. And now we are here again today, sitting and talking, all of us on this honourable side of the chamber, sir. And the leader of the opposition that has not been there 3 weeks, has not stepped in here yet today. It shows the callous-minded disrespect for this honourable chamber and for the people of Barbados, but more particularly the people of Christchurch South, who will speak with their mouths and write with their pens when the time comes, if he lasts that long, sir. Mr. Speaker,
has 2 more minutes. Yes,
sir, 2 more minutes. Yes, sir, that's all right. I just want to say, I should have remembered earlier too that before Barbados was dismantled on the Democratic Labour Party, where those persons were cleaning the area of Harrison's Cave, the Project House at Sturgis, cleaning all over Barbados, and they were dismantled. And apparently somebody who is now long gone would have been responsible for building a house over, a building, excuse me, sir, over in Vaucluse, a 6-story building that not even the floors on some of the levels had even little concrete or tiles. And I believe it is a sick building because I passed it this morning, it's empty. I am saying, and then they heard the person has millions of dollars that were in their bank account and all that. We are not a government or a party, sir, that looks after material things. And I believe that all these honourable members here will continue to carry that mantra of the Labour Party, to serve, not to take for ourselves, to serve and to share and live with integrity in this particular society of ours. If politicians have to continue to be recognized and acknowledged and respected, they have to live up to a standard that when people look up to them, I want to be like him, I want to be like her, because they know that we carry character. after our names in this Barbados Labour Party. We shall continue to do it, Mr. Speaker, and we know that you, with your legal training, will help to guide us along as well to make sure that persons like myself, and I can't speak for the honourable member for St. Peter, but we will not be so familiar with the law, but we want to live within the law and serve the people of Barbados. And so, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to thank the honourable member for St. Michael North East. And I want to thank the people of Barbados for the confidence that they have bestowed in this Barbados Labour Party to be able to make a difference, because at this time in our history, the upgrades to our roads and all that, that is necessary if we are to be able to contribute to the growth and the development of this country, and the stability that is necessary and the security that will come from the same armed forces and others to be able to let our visitors come to this island and to let us sleep in our beds and go to our various institutions knowing that we are safe and that there is prosperity not only for us who are older, but for our youth who will come, because the platform has been laid by this Labour Party. May it continue forever. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm obliged to you. Thank you.
Honourable for the City of Bridgetown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as I rise, I obviously want to express gratitude to God, my family, and of course the people of the City of Bridgetown and wider Barbados for the opportunity and support to be here to speak to you this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, I send a special shout out to those around me in my constituency office, my branch, the executive, because a lot of the times people see us stand here and they think we stand here alone. But we really stand here on the backs and the shoulders of those who support us. Mr. Speaker, my plan today really is to reply to the budget and not to reply to the reply of the budget. But I must start and say a little bit about that. I don't want to get too deep in it. I want to deal with people today because my heart is a little heavy, sir. But for me, I was a little disappointed in the reply to the budget. Because, sir, I was looking for constructive critique. I was looking for alternatives and solutions and suggestions that really, as a listening and caring government, that we could go back to the drawing board and make some adjustments. But, sir, I was thoroughly disappointed because the individual knows better. I have heard many speeches from the individual, and I have been impressed. And I don't believe just because you switch a chair, switch a chair, or switch a seat, that it should mean that that should diminish your presentation. Because if it was not unparliamentary, I believe you would have to rename him Rambling Ralph, sir. Because while he was rambling, the rest of the LP was scrambling to get out of here. And I believe that for me, I came to hear, to digest, to be able to learn something and take it from heights to heights. But instead, we got rambling, sir. So I want to say from the outset that I support this appropriation bill, this financial and budgetary proposal exercise. Not because I am on this side, sir. Not only because I believe that it was a balanced budget for the right time, but because I feel an additional strength in supporting it because I got the privilege and opportunity of holding a small focus group within my constituency, and I am the voice that they have sent in here, and I want to talk a bit about what we spoke about in that focus group. So I want to start that on their behalf, sir, that they want to thank this administration, and they want to thank the Honourable Member for St. Michael North East for no new taxes. That is the first thing the discussion started on. They want to thank her and us for good economic management. They are concerned, though, about the pass-down effect. They said to me, the government is putting in effort at the port to save some money. They're easing the VAT and freezing some things and reducing some things, but they don't feel that it pass on. And they said, we got to get creative. I said, right around the world, governments struggle with that. How to get retailers to pass on their savings to the people and not put it in their profit margins. I confess to them right away, I don't have the answer. I don't, unless you go into price controls, but that is a different story, sir. They want to say they are happy with the fact that we had 11 quarters of growth as opposed to 11 downgrades or even 23. So they want to thank the economic team for that. Sir, I explained to them that what that does is not only give us confidence in the investment market, but what that does is that allows for the government to have more fiscal, financial, elbow room, space for more social and economic activity, that which means more social and economic investment in them, that we are in a position to put programs in place for them to ensure that they have a better life. They talked about the continued ease on VAT on light bills. And they said not to September, sir. They said we would like to see it done as long as humanly possible or as long as economically possible. So I will advocate for that on their behalf. I don't know how successful I will be, but I will continue to advocate on it nonetheless. Sir, I would admit the fact that they were not excited about the water-saving devices, but I had to explain to them and remind them two things. The precious nature of water, no matter the cost, but also the fact what my grandmother taught me, $1 saved is $1 earned. So it may not give you money up front, but it saves you money, which is money that you have earned. And I believe the majority of them understood. They sent out a special thank you for the increase they had in welfare during the time of COVID. A special thank you for the Adult Family Program that provided $600 for the most vulnerable in this country. And a special thank you for the One Family Program, which is now targeting 1,000 of the most vulnerable families to bring them out of poverty. The former member for St. Peter, the former Prime Minister, as he said, our mission here is to do what? Stop poor people from being poor. And that program seeks to make sure that 1,000 families are brought out of poverty. For me, sir, I know that the police, the artists, the students, the workers, the seniors, the nurses, all of them send their thank you. And they say thank you to the honorable member, the dear member from St. Michael Northeast for bringing up the right budget at the right time. So I want to say that this 2024 budget, when dissected, it is clear that not Barbados in general, but I want to talk about the city of Bridgetown. And its people will continue on a path for more development and more empowerment. With the upcoming World Cup, which I will speak to, I am very happy, Mr. Speaker, that since recent announcements, I've been able to meet with the National Organizing Committee, and I am a happy representative, a happy MP to know that the city of Bridgetown and Barbados will be benefiting directly from the World Cup through jobs, through vending opportunities, through enhancement in roads, in signage, and in some properties. And there will be some legacy events. And what do legacy events mean? It means that beyond World Cup, there are activities that will be started because of World Cup, but even after the last ball is bowled, that they will be seeing the benefits of World Cup. I will speak more to that at the right time in the right place. What I want to underscore is the urban renewal project and also government's general plan to continue to improve the city of Bridgetown and its people. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, I know the rules in relation to newspapers in the House of Parliament. I do. I was in Youth Parliament, sir. So I know that I laminate it, and it's no longer a newspaper, it's a poster. And on these posters, sir, in 1976, the 5th of May to be exact, we had an election coming up, and MP Craig, he was talking about a new life for Bridgetown residents. City slums must go. And we talked about Emerton, how it was condemned to die. And since then, have you checked the development of Bridgetown? Whether it was the mayor of Bridgetown, whether it was Dame Billy Miller, whether it was Lieutenant Colonel, the most Honourable Jeffrey Bostic, and now this member for the city of Bridgetown, you can trace back and see that Bridgetown is on the up and on, the on and up. And it ain't done yet, sir. because what we are about to see is the type of urban renewal that we not only need, but that we deserve. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we talk about the Bridgetown redevelopment plan, what does this mean? It means social and economic upliftment for the people. It means housing redevelopment. It means roads and drainage improvement. It means climate resilient urban cities. It sounds like a fancy word, but it means that what we will do is ensure that as we build and as we develop, that we can withstand what the climate change and climate crisis has in store for us. If you look around, you would see the continued investment in the Constitution River Project, Fairchild Street, Temple Yard, Pelican Village, the building blocks, and so many more. And these are areas that we know that we not only need, but that we deserve. My major development for development, sir, is not just development for development's sake, but development to provide employment and economic opportunities for the people. It is not about the concrete. It is not about the steel. It is not about the galvanized. It is not about the nails. But it is about the young men and women, senior men and women, and middle-aged men and women getting that opportunity to live their best lives. I move on quickly, sir, because I don't want you to have to tell me about the time. But I want to tell you that jobs and housing is the two biggest concerns expressed to me by my people, and I have redoubled my efforts to do my best to make sure that as many of my constituents are properly housed and properly employed. That is the mission. Mr. Speaker, sir, I quickly turn to crime prevention. I am happy to hear about the step in the right direction for the police, and I know many more steps will come. But I like to connect the dots. I like to think critically. I like to think deeply. And therefore, I put to the people of Barbados that crime prevention platform of this administration, it goes deep and it goes wide. That is why the ramping up of poverty alleviation by the Honourable Member from SMS, St. Michael South, is linked to the idea of crime prevention. The work of the Honourable Member from St. Philip West in relation to education transformation is linked to crime prevention. The excellent work and the confidence-led investment led by the economic and finance team are all exciting to me because these help treat to the secondary level root causes and the social determinants of crime. At the deep root cause level, I believe that we are on the right track tackling the issues such as parenting, childhood and other traumas, low self-esteem, boredom, lack of motivation, and other deep-rooted causes. Working closely with the Youth Development and the Honourable Member from St. John, we are moving forward to ensure that we have exciting programs. I give an example, the National Peace Program, which is anchored in the Office of the Attorney General Crime Prevention. And I invite the public to judge it for yourselves. Judge the results, honestly. In that program, we have 6 pillars, sir, and a 3-phase approach, utilizing some time and tested and proven concepts. The 3 phases really was to reduce the heat on the street. You can judge that for yourself. Prevent criminal activity, where we can see we make sure that the Ministry of Environment is cutting the grass, the lights, the cameras are there, that we can prevent criminal activity. But the major one, the third one, sir, is to prevent criminals in the first place. And that is why we have to work with the parents and work with the young people of this country to ensure that they don't get involved in crime in the first place. And how do we do that, sir? We do that by using a concept I call entertain, brain, train, and sustain. Entertain to bring them in, then work on the brain, personal development, that mindset change, and then we train them, and then we put them into sustainable activity. They don't want nothing to do with crime anymore, sir, because they got a job, they got a career, they got employment. Therefore, they can feed themselves and their family, and they feel like they're somebody in this country. They got self-esteem, and they're on a path of progress, a path that this administration will give to its people. And that is what we are doing. Sir, we live in a region where the top 10 islands of the Caribbean have seen between 21 murders in every 100,000 up to over 50 murders for every 100,000. We in this paradise have now recently moved from a high of 17 murders in every 100,000, sir, to 7 in every 100,000, putting us up there with the more developed world. But however, we will not rest on this reduction because the 10 lowest stand between 0.1 to 0.6, or the other way around, 0.6 up to 0.1. We had a prison old and new with inmates ranging from 1,000 almost going to 1,200. Today it stands about in the high 600s to the low 700s. So it tells me that we are doing something right and we are moving in the right direction. The National Crime Prevention Plan, Project 180, has identified 180 things that this country can do in a serious way towards crime prevention over the next 3 years. 67 of those are located in the Office of the Attorney General Crime Prevention, and 25 have been completed thus far. It is only because of the economy of time that it falls upon me that I could not list them right now. But I am sure that the time is coming close where I can put it in a document and have it as a document of the House. We at the Attorney General, sir, will continue to work to ensure that Barbados is a peaceful, safe, secure, and just society. In closing, as we continue to put people first, each and every one of us, all 29, 30 of us, to put people first, I believe that we are transforming Barbados to be a better place for all of our people. Let us stay the course towards a morally grounded, socially cohesive, economically prosperous, technologically sensible, environmentally friendly, and people-centered paradise. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support this Appropriation Bill 2024, and I am obliged. I thank you.
Honourable Member from Microsoft Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I intend to go directly to the meat of the issue. Perhaps as a vegetarian, I shouldn't use that analogy. But to the heart of the conversation in this honorable place. First, to address some of what we were forced to endure by way of a budget reply yesterday. And then to be able to reflect on some of the measures in the Honourable Prime Minister's budgetary proposals and financial statement. Sir, there has been much discussion about the question of debt. And while others have addressed it in various ways, I think it is extremely important because debt and the way we manage it will continue to be a part of our economic management program in this country. And there were certain representations made in this honorable place yesterday by the Leader of the Opposition that suggests to me that he perhaps was somewhere else while this country and all Barbadians were holding on, hanging on at the precipice for dear life for a decade. And it is something that I do not take lightly. And when the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central spoke yesterday, perhaps what you perceived in his reaction, the passion and the outrage in some regard, comes from the fact that it has been no easy task to repair the damage that was done by a Democratic Labour Party administration. And people like the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central and I often feel as if we were sitting in our various places, almost minding our own business. But embarrassed to be Barbadian economists in an economy that was being flushed completely down the toilet while we watched. And that is perhaps the reason that you see us in this honourable place today. Not, unlike the member for Christchurch South, driven by any aspirations for high office, but driven only by the desperate situation in which we found our country. And so we heard yesterday, sir, that debt reprofiling, the debt reprofiling that the Democratic Labour Party and the then Minister of Finance wanted to do is gentle. Debt reprofiling is gentle, and the suggestion was that what we had to do to rescue the economy by way of debt restructuring is not gentle. But you know what else is gentle, sir? Gentleness is often used as an excuse for the impotent. Impotence is full of gentle, flaccid, good intent that can neither meet the circumstances of the moment nor rise to the occasion. That is some of what we heard in here yesterday. And that was regrettably the approach and the orientation of the former Minister of Finance for the Democratic Labour Party in his approach to debt reprofiling. This is a man and an administration that created $18.1 billion in debt and then came to the people of Barbados and said, this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to reprofile the debt gently. Gently, sir. And I'm going to save $70 million. The grand plan that the former Minister of Finance had to save the country from $18.1 billion in debt was to gently reprofile it to the tune of $70 million out of an $18.1 billion debt. Yes, reprofiling is gentle and impotent and flaccid. And that was all that the then Democratic Labour Party could bring to address the debt overhang and the crisis that existed at the time. And then we keep hearing about this notion that the debt restructuring destroyed the sustainability of the national insurance scheme. You know, there are those who start fires, watch the fire catch, and then run outside and start screaming, there's a fire. And that is exactly what this represents. Because the only reason that the national insurance scheme was hit so hard by a debt restructuring was that it was overexposed to government borrowing in the first place, against the warning of those from the investment committee who said to the then government, this is too much borrowing, this is too far, this is going to threaten our sustainability. And having ignored that warning, then we are being told that the debt restructuring that we had to do destroyed the sustainability of the NIS, which is also false. So the debt restructuring cost $805 million to the NIS because of its overexposure. Now, and we've heard before as we went through the process of putting forward proposals for how we keep the NIS sustainable, National Insurance Fund, if that 0.8 billion or so had been saved, it would have grown to about 1.9 billion. But even that 1.9 billion could only have saved the National Insurance Fund 3 years in terms of sustainability. So the straw man that is being set up is really to suggest that this Barbados Labour Party administration and our economic management team caused harm, when really the harm was caused by people who did not understand that you cannot keep borrowing over and over again from your domestic institutions like the National Insurance Scheme and the central bank without putting them under threat. And then when we had to come and take a bold decision to restructure domestic and external debt, it is suggested that that was too far. But I want to go a little bit further on that matter. We were told similarly in this chamber yesterday that the letter regarding the decision to restructure the debt and the engagement of the parties who supported us in that endeavor was signed 5 days after the Prime Minister was sworn in. And yes, it is true that the debt restructuring was announced on the 1st of June 2018, but I want the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to then count the days before the payment was due in that same month that would have wiped out by half the little bit of reserves that the Democratic Labour Party had left. The reserves stood at 220 million, or about 5 weeks. The payment that was due to on that Credit Suisse loan by the end of that month would have cut that out by half. That would have put us at 2 weeks of reserves. But some people just go on vacation for more than that, sir. Not anybody in here. But I'm going to go further with this Credit Suisse loan, sir. Because there is something called a collective action clause that is sometimes enacted in debt instruments. And all that means is that in the event of a debt restructuring, a collective action clause means that only 75% of the creditors have to agree to a way forward, and that will bind the other creditors to an agreement on what they will accept in the restructuring. I want to say something about the Credit Suisse facility that was agreed by the government of Barbados in late 2013. It was for the amount of US 150 million. So when they done rinse out the NIS and they done rinse out the central bank, it was for US 150 million. With a 5-year maturity, sir, well, by the time you blink, it's time to pay that back, so I don't know who negotiate that. A 5-year maturity. It was increased to 225 million in 2014, and the maturity was extended by 1 year to 2019. The interest payable on it was linked to Barbados's credit rating. And it had therefore increased significantly over the years, with numerous downgrades, to 12% and climbing at the end of 2017. That was the loan that would have come due in a significant payment by the end of June, and that was the way that it was negotiated. But sir, the irony of it is that the same people that we were supposed to not have paid for their work to restructure the debt were the same ones that managed to achieve the following. Remember, the Credit Suisse loan did not have in those collective action clauses that would have meant that once you get 75% of the creditors to agree, everybody has to agree. The Credit Suisse loan didn't have that. It was not negotiated with that. So it meant that everybody involved had to agree to the terms. Sir, I am quoting from an IMF report of 2020 that makes an assessment of Barbados's debt restructuring, and I encourage everybody to read it. It says in November 2013 press release, the government announced overwhelming creditor support for the debt exchange, with participation well above the 75% threshold for the 3 outstanding Euro bonds. But I want to make this point about the people that were maligned in here for doing the work to bring about one of the most successful debt restructurings in debt history. Not in the Caribbean, not in the Western Hemisphere, but in the world, independently assessed to be so. The participation rate in the Credit Suisse facility, these people did not have to agree because it had no collective action clause. They could have held out, sir, for the next 40 years. The participation rate in the Credit Suisse facility, based on negotiation of the team that was representing Barbados, came in at 100%. On December 11, 2019, the transaction closed with full creditor participation. Sir, on the same day and in response to the completion of the debt exchange, Standard & Poor's upgraded Barbados' foreign currency sovereign credit rating from selective default to B negative. And these are the people, nobody thought it could be done. These are the people that you come in here and malign and suggest that they took advantage of a government. It is not they who took advantage of a government or the people of Barbados. It was a Democratic Labour Party administration in this country. Sir, there's something else that I want to get to. And it is the notion represented in here yesterday that we've had no capital expenditure. I really believe sometimes in just getting yourself ready for battle. Because you are facing a Barbados Labour Party administration that has done the work and that has the receipts. And you come in here ill-informed, having just woken up, not ready to have a real conversation. So let us have a real conversation, sir. In 10 years of capital expenditure by a Democratic Labour Party government, and when we talk about capital expenditure, what we're trying to say is this: how do we spend the money, expend the resources to be able to make sure that people are employed, to make sure that we create the infrastructure to build confidence and get people to invest and make sure that business works, things like roads and mobile networks and so on. Houses, schools, the things that Barbadians determine are important in the way of capital works to their lives and to the expansion of their choices. And that is why capital expenditure is important to an economy. In 10 years of a Democratic Labour Party government, they were able to achieve, the highest capital expenditure they were able to achieve was 2.6. Actually, their highest capital expenditure, interestingly, came on the heels of a Barbados Labour Party government. 2.6 in 2008-9, which means they were picking up some of the projects that a Barbados Labour Party government had started, and that was the highest number. You see, sir, the peak at the beginning, that's a bad sign. That is a bad sign, as most in here would appreciate. You need to finish strong, sir.
I remember, be careful with your analogies. Just be careful.
I feel I'm still on the right side, sir, but I'll take your guidance.
I remember, I fully understand you.
So they only managed to, they got that high on the back of our CapEx program coming out of 2007. They got to 2.6. This is as a percent of GDP, sir. Now, sir, the highest that this Barbados Labour Party government was able to achieve over the last 6 years is a high of 4.1% of GDP over the last 6 years. In fact, our highest expenditure came in circumstances where the country was at a standstill. The country was shutting down. It was during COVID. We saw that we had $425 million in CapEx in 21-22 and $476 million in 22-23. So and furthermore, they never even managed to reach the expenditure that we saw in the height of COVID. This is a Democratic Labour Party administration that had 10 years to get themselves together. But sir, the final point I want to make on this is this. Over the last 6 years, the capex for this administration has reached 1,835 million over 6 years. Over 10 years, with 4 more years, they didn't even manage to get that high. Coming in only at 1,800 million. And they had 10 years to do it. So even not having gotten to the 10-year mark, we are still far, far ahead. And that is why I don't understand how a leader of the opposition can leave aside where he would have had a record of which, not to boast, but with which to demonstrate sound leadership and good management. But instead, he chooses to associate himself with the worst results, arguably, that this country has ever seen by any economic team or any government since independence. Why we choose to associate in that way? Sir, I want to turn to the budgetary proposals and the financial statement that we heard from the Honourable Member for St. Michael North East, the Honourable Prime Minister, on Monday. And you know what strikes me, sir, is this is not an ordinary budget. I don't know how many people realize that. This, having gone through BERT 1, Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Plan, the first iteration, where we were focused on stabilization, now that we are at BERT 2, this is the platform for growth. But, you know, sir, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition talked about wanting to remove elitist structures. I don't know how a man could want to remove elitist structures and holding on so desperately to King's Council after his name. Don't want to get rid of KC at all. In this new republic that he's so proud of. The things jump me every time I look at the TV. That's how we want to associate, and you're talking about removing elitist structures? But sir, if there has ever been any example of a rebalancing and redistribution of resources and opportunity in a budget, it is in this budget. And I'll tell you what I mean. These budgetary proposals have managed in regularizing these legacy concessional arrangements that we heard the Honourable Prime Minister talk about, where people are coming with typeset agreements and saying, I am still entitled to concessions, not having proven how many jobs you've brought or continue to bring, not having proven how much foreign exchange, not having proven how you're upgrading the plant, or making sure that workers' rights are protected. But you believe that you can hold on to concessions for 30 and 40 years, and we're saying no. It is not an anti-investment posture at all. It is a pro-investment posture that seeks to make sure that government is investing its tax expenditure where it matters and where it helps people. And so we require those people to reapply and to be reassessed while we do what, sir? While we bring that concessionary space to the groups and sectors that most need it and that can least afford to go without it. And so we see, sir, that we have, for example, not legacy concessions to large, big, in some cases, foreign business, but 25% tax credit to boost the 50% research and development tax that already exists, research and development tax credit that already exists for oceans and greening the economy. 50% tax credit on centers that are offering artificial intelligence, coding, robotics, and digital training. 50% tax credit for laboratories. And then there's a range of tax credits and other concessions that relate to the community of people living with disabilities, that relate to centers that offer care. This is what a redistributive budget that is focused not on consolidating wealth into the hands of those who already have, but on making sure that those who we must involve in the growth path are set up to thrive and prosper. I dare say, sir, I have worked throughout the region, throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. You know, some say that there's one of our characters in Barbadian lore that says famously, I've been all over the world and other places too. And I feel as if I've had enough exposure to economic policy to know that this is an unusual thing. A government that seeks out, that tries to find all of the ways in which people may be missing the best of the opportunity, and then writes that into its financial proposals. You know, we say in public finance that you can tell a country's priorities by its budget. And look at the priorities that have been outlined. Care, people with disabilities, the innovation sector, young people, small business. This is the platform for growth here, sir. And I want to say that the Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology is perhaps, not to boast, but perhaps one of the sectors that is most poised to be able to deliver that. We determined, sir, that one of the only ways that we are going to get out of inflationary cycles, get out of the trap where you are moving wages, but then prices follow. That's what happens, you know. You try to move wages along to try and match inflation, but guess what? Wages are a price. The other prices are going to follow. So how do we seek to index wages then to growth and productivity? Which is one of the things we have to figure out. But the way to settle this once and for all, really, is to increase wages organically. To be able to say, actually, we're creating high-income sectors. Everybody who works in these sectors will be making more money because of the nature of the sector. The data and technology sector has to be that sector. So that we're not just buying software and putting in immigration or putting in the Office of the Attorney General, so that we are creating an ecosystem of startups and scale-ups and other local and regional companies that are building for us, that are solving local problems, and then saying to the rest of the world, look, we solved this problem for Barbados, we solved this problem for Jamaica, we're going to come and solve it for you. That is the industry that we have to create. The reason the data center is going to be built is that that data center is going to power that industry. Now, we have some work to do, and I very much appreciate the posture of the Honourable Minister in the other place, the Minister for Health and Wellness, when he came to this place and he said, I am not happy with everything at Queen Elizabeth Hospital. I am not happy with everything in the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The Honourable Member for St. Michael North East, the Honourable Prime Minister, had a similar approach when she said, look, I'm going to call it as I see it. What do we have to clean up? What do we have to do better? What do we have to fix? MIST is in a similar place, where we have to say simply, look, we have created GovTech, brand new agency that is going to be responsible for the execution of online services to all people. And then the ministry will be responsible for policy, regulation, the directorate to say, what are the policy orientations that we take while that agency is delivering to various ministries, departments, and agencies.
Your Honourable Member has 2 more minutes.
So, sir, one of the things that we have to, I thank you, one of the things that we have to realize, though, is that there is a lot of work to be done. And this is the kind of area where we have to bring everybody along. One of my very talented officers, he's not my officer, but he's one of the officers of the ministry, my team members, I like to feel like we're a team, was discussing with me yesterday the need for public key infrastructure. What is that? That is the entire building out of a digital trust service framework. That means what? The only way that we can really move fully to an online environment for all documents is to have digital signatures and certificates. Right now, people sign things, use a seal, all kinds of fancy ways to use paper. The only way that we're going to move away from that is to bring in this infrastructure, and it calls for all of us to be there. So whether it is the Trident ID, the cybersecurity, the cybercrime legislation, which we need to keep people safe, the Electronic Transactions Act, which we have to revisit, the Data Protection Act of 2019, which we have to perhaps build out, this is going to be an ongoing conversation in this country. But I want Barbadians to understand that just like with a hurricane, just like with the climate crisis, the action is not to do nothing. If we do nothing, we are going to be caught unawares and we are going to be at risk to the worst elements out there. I'm asking Barbadians to come along with the Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, to come along with the government of Barbados, to have the important conversations about what is the balance of data privacy and protection along with the need for services and the enjoyment of all of our choices in this new and growing Barbados. Barbados is a buzz, sir. It is a buzz. It is not just a buzz with economic activity, but with the conversations on transformation that are going to allow us to take full advantage of that economic activity with all Barbadians involved. I dare us to dream, not to hope, but to dream and to execute together. Sir, I'm obliged to you.
Honourable for Christchurch West Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. First, allow me the opportunity to thank God Almighty for being here. I want to also, in the same voice, express my gratitude to the good people of the epicenter of Christchurch West Central, who basked in the sun 2 days ago to ensure that they were there to support me. I want to also thank my family for being the strength to help me in my efforts. But not only did they come to support me on Monday, but they also give me a message today to give the rest of Barbados. They have told me in an unequivocal voice that they found Monday's presentation, budgetary proposal, to be a caring proposal. They told me, in their opinion, it was compassionate. And they also told me that it was comforting for them, their families, and their extended friends. That is what the good people of Christchurch West Central asked me to say on their behalf. And I want, Mr. Speaker, to say that the budget delivered on Monday was a budget for every single day of the week. It was magnificence on Monday as it relates to how we treat the most vulnerable in this country. There was something for the young people as it relates to education with the master teachers. For the disabled, you understand that their non-contributory arrangement for persons with special conditions will be extended to that group. And of course, for the people who touch my heart and titillate me more than anybody else, the elderly. And we recognize that there are no tax credits for those persons who are in the twilight of their years when it comes to building elder care facilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, it was a well-balanced budget. It was as balanced as nature itself when it's not interfered with by certain people. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say to you that it was the budget executed and articulated by the Member of Parliament for St. Michael North East at the right time for the right occasion. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say, because there are a lot of atmospheric, I will call it atmospheric noise, it may be mesospheric because it's gone beyond the atmosphere, in Barbados as it relates to the travel, and especially the travel of the Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, prior to 2018, Barbados looked at it off the cuff. There was no mention of Barbados, no place in the world. And what has the Prime Minister done, and this government done since coming to office post-2018? You've now heard about a debt for nature climate swap, which would free up, in terms of savings on our debt, the better part of $50 million for marine conservation and built out over the next 10, 15 years. Mr. Speaker, the work and effort of our Prime Minister, who has traveled the length of breadth of this world to ensure that Barbados has a voice and a space. Mr. Speaker, sir, the much talk about Bridgetown initiative, and I want us to understand, and you can change the name because for me it's a Bajan initiative. The Bridgetown initiative, articulated and put together by a group of Barbadians, homegrown talent, an initiative that seeks to disrupt that which was normal, that architecture, that financial architecture which seek to dissipate our small and developing states and disadvantage us, where those big financial institutions, multilateral development banks as we know it, where that they would allow by opening their arms to us, using special drawing rights and special instruments so that we can be able to ascertain loans at the 2 and 3%, like the other big countries. Right now, we are paying the better part of 15, sometimes between 15 to 20%, where these same loans are given to other countries at 2 and 3%. And we say that was not fair to the 2 billion people who live in the tropics. Remember, Mr. Speaker, there are 2 billion people every single day that can't get a drink of fresh water. 2 billion people in the tropics who contribute very little to the climate change, and the disaster are feeling the worst effects of it. And we are saying that the way how the financial architecture was constructed, it was not fair for the people who live in the tropics or the small and the developing states. We were saying so, and this Prime Minister championed the Bridgetown initiative so that we in these small and developing states will have a say in the way how we are able to treat the natural disasters. And Mr. Speaker, sir, when we talk about the work that the Prime Minister has done in terms of bringing recognition to this country, the amount of grants that we have been able to get since she has come to office. In my ministry, Mr. Speaker, we were able, and I must talk about it, to get $450,000 for our biosecure fence of our leaf-toed gecko. Very endemic to our country, very important part of our biological diversity. Mr. Speaker, sir, the soil care project that we are doing currently, because we recognize that the Minister of Agriculture, the Member of Parliament for St. Philip South, will not be able to ensure our food security if we don't have arable land and arable soil. And so we started a project getting grant funding from Jeff, where we are trying to rehabilitate that first 12 inches or so of soil so that it can have its organic purpose. Because the reality on the current trajectory is that within the next 60 years, the world as we know in terms of soil and being able to be fertile for agricultural purposes and biological diversity, etc., will not be the way how we expect it to be. It will be a serious destruction in terms of how we treat the productivity of our sectors. I am saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is the work of a Prime Minister who cares about the country. And, you know, when I sit down and reflect on what she's doing, and hearing the naysayers and fearmongers, There's only one song that comes to mind, but I would change up the lyrics. That's the song by Ernie Smith, which says, keep on doing what you're doing. I want to say, keep on doing what you're doing, Motley. You're making the people happy, Motley, because everything will be all right. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, and when you reflect on the things that are happening in this country, and I didn't want to reflect on a lady who come from the Fulcrum of Christ Church, the lady by none other than Shirley Chisholm. She said that you don't wait till the table is pulled for you to sit in. You bring your own folding chair. That is what she said. And that is what this Prime Minister has done in the international sphere. She has allowed Barbados to have a seat at the table, and not only a seat at the table, but a seat in a leadership position at the international table. That is what she has done. So I don't mind the atmospheric noise as I see it. But Mr. Speaker, and I really need to talk about the mandate that was given to me. And I know you are a man who understands the color spectrum pretty well. I am minister responsible for both green and blue economy. Some may be able to say the turquoise economy, if you look at the mixture and the collage. My ministry, Mr. Speaker, is responsible for ensuring that the threat that, as we know as the triple planetary threat, that threat which seeks to destroy life as we know it, the threat of climate change, Mr. Speaker. Biodiversity laws, you heard me speak about it many occasions, and pollution. Mr. Speaker, I want to say today that we have another threat too, and that is the rise of sea level because of the melting in the southern hemisphere. Mr. Speaker, if we are not resilient and fit for purpose, this Barbados as we know it will be no more. And that is why it is so important that we start doing the right things from our biosphere, which is the land, to the hydrosphere, which is the sea and our coastal environment. That is why a budget that speaks to a tax credit where persons are encouraged to come with they call marine infrastructure work, whether it is revetment, regrounds and breakwaters, and other reef restoration and coral. That type of work and activity, once approved by the Coastal Zone Unit, a budget that incentivizes persons to do that sort of work, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a budget that is fit for purpose. And when you are speaking about my ministry, Mr. Speaker, I want to report today that I said to Barbadians in 2020, when I became Minister of the Environment, that there must be a clean and green conversation that will become part of the Barbadian vernacular. I started out at zero. I know you play cricket, Mr. Speaker, sir. You probably got out at zero too. But I want to report today. I want to report today, because I like to deal with the higher numbers, that today we have established 101 clean and green sites across Barbados. 101 clean and green sites. And when it's 101, somebody said to me, it's a centennial moment for me. It is a century. And as a cricketer, Mr. Speaker, sir, you may not, I like those like numbers, you may not even imagine to get there. 101.
You're not mistaking me for some person on the other side.
101 clean and green sites, Mr. Speaker, where we took land that was just fallow, land that was bush. And we say to ourselves that we must be able to beautify communities where we give Barbadians the opportunity to balance their humors, to become part of a holistic project to green and beautify their environment. Mr. Speaker, sir, along with that, what we are doing now is putting up lights so that we can have commercial activities day and night. I want to encourage Barbadians to use those sites for green commercial activity, because it is to allow communities to have a tangible state in this country. That is what the clean and green sites are used for. And Mr. Speaker, sir, we started, because you heard the Prime Minister talk about it, a robust exercise where we started to plant trees around Barbados. The Prime Minister said 1 million trees. I want to report today that the tree planting project has planted 560,000 trees across Barbados, not only for food security, but to become part of the larger carbon sink, Mr. Speaker, sir. 560,000 trees. Albeit that we had our challenges with COVID and there was a shutdown during that period of time. And I want to tell you, Mr. Speaker, that within now and in the end of the financial year, we are expected to plant 100,000 more trees, Mr. Speaker, sir. In terms of EPD and what we do in the Environmental Protection Department, we will continue with our derelict program because we recognize that Barbados must be kept clean, it must be kept healthy, and we understand the problems associated with those vehicles derelict and the properties that are derelict. And we are saying that over the next couple of months, we will up the ante as it relates to that program to ensure we have a safe Barbados. That is for EPD. I said before that NHD, the National Heritage Department, has embarked on a soil and a soil rehabilitation program along with the Ministry of Agriculture, where we are looking at rehabilitating that soil so that it can have the value, the arable value that is needed in this new dimension that we call the climate change. And I know that the Minister, the Member of Parliament for St. Philip South, spoke earlier about agro-resistant crops and plants. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to get now, because I know time is against me, on the botanical garden, the natural oasis, the beauty of the boulevard. Mr. Speaker, sir, we started, and I want to thank the Member of Parliament for St. Michael East, who started this project. The baton was passed to me. The baton was passed to me, and I was able to have that Usain Bolt moment too, because I said, when I started the project after the Member of Parliament for St. Michael East, that over the next couple of years, that must be the most pristine environment ever seen in Barbados. Where we marry, we are able to marry science and ecology. We are able to marry the fact that it's able to bring about that psycho-social balance to people's life. I want to say today that although it is not finished, we have started the Richard Stout amphitheater. We have started the seniors garden and completed the seniors garden, woodland gardens. We are in the process of building out the infrastructure, the roads, the parkings, the facilities, the comfort zones. By the time, Mr. Speaker, the end of this financial year, we are saying that the botanical garden will be the crown jewel in Waterford. And you know it kisses your constituency, Mr. Speaker, sir, and you are happy to be able to go and have your parties, etc., in the gardens. The botanical gardens, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the dendrologist who works hard on there, Mr. Nigel Jones, for leading the charge in helping develop the botanical garden. Mr. Speaker, we have in the coastal zone unit, because our coastal protection must become an important part of the conversation. We have said already that we are basically an ocean state. A little sea level rise will probably devastate our lives. We have a water saline intrusion in our near-shore aquifers. It is a reality, a lived reality for us. And so, over the next 7 years, the Coastal Zone Management Unit, with the assistance of the IDB, will be run out a project from Clinkets in St. Lucie all the way to Oistins in Christchurch, a resilient project, a project that seeks to look at how we mitigate against the climate change and the vagaries thereof, as a project that looks at adaptation to these vagaries and these changes. This is a holistic project, Mr. Speaker, and I want to say that I am quietly confident that those in the coastal zone unit will be able to do such. Mr. Speaker, the ministry that I lead is on the cusp of rolling out a fisheries management project, because we understand that fishing is part of our vernacular. It is part of our history. It is part of our culture. It is part of our ability to sustain ourselves. Many families, Mr. Speaker, will tell you that they were able to build their homes from the fishing industry. We're able to get a tangible stake in this country from an industry. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that with this management plan, we are looking to introduce, Mr. Speaker, aquaculture and mariculture, where we have the sustainable management of an industry for not only our locals, Mr. Speaker, but for the export potential that we know that it truly has. It is part of having that financial reserve, and they allow us to get that much needed financial foreign reserves in our country by extending the sector away from our shores and allowing Barbadians to have a tangible stake in it. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say to you that in the biodiversity section, you all often hear me talk about biodiversity and the importance thereof. Since the industrial era, 250 years ago, we have lost 250 years, industrial era. We have lost over 530 species of plants, Mr. Speaker. Over 600 species of animals. When you talk about biodiversity loss and the threat to life on this world, it is serious. We are talking about the basis of life itself. I coined a phrase when I went to the last biological diversity conference, that life on this earth began with biodiversity. It would end abruptly without it. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we have started the action plan, the National Biological Diversity Action Plan, which is the action plan that seeks with a 12-point theme that seeks to preserve the biological diversity in this country so that Barbados can say to the rest of the world, we are protecting that which will eventually protect us and our children. Biological diversity. And I want to say to you, Mr. Speaker, that Nature Conservancy was able to see the hard work of the good officers in the ministry, because the praise don't only go to the minister, it goes to the hard-working officers in the ministry, and award Barbados as one of the leaders in terms of the small and developing state and as it relates to biodiversity. And we were given an award last December for that work. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the project manager coordinating unit, you hear about integrated solid waste management. The way how we treat to our waste. Very important. We have said that waste must be a part of the conversation. The way how we reduce it. Reduce, reuse, recycle, recover, and now one more, Mr. Speaker, sir, repair. And we understand you, when you were a youngster, you used to repair bicycle tires. They don't do it anymore. But that must, if you are serious about integrated solid waste management and the way how we treat to that waste, we must be able to utilize every single thing in a circle of Barbados, which will have benefits in the long run. Out of every single ton that is carried in landfill, we can create 3 or 4 green jobs. Out of every single one. And I want you to be mindful of that, Mr. Speaker, because this is important work. Mr. Speaker, at the NCC, I want to say today that we have started to propagate those seeds that I spoke about last budget. And those seeds are the seeds for the citronella grass. And those things that will help us with the fight for our biodiversity, the fight against the mosquito population and the threat of dengue. I said already that we have to look at natural ways rather than losing all the pollutants so that we can have a fight against these common threats.
Honourable Member has 2 more minutes.
Mr. Speaker, and I will use that 2 minutes to go quickly to the Sanitation Service Authority, Mr. Speaker. I want to say that when this government came to power in 2018, we had 12 garbage trucks. I want you to hear me good. 12 garbage trucks. If I was sitting as a member of the Stockholm Convention, I would say, we would call it the dirty dozen. Because those are the chemicals that destroy the world. The dirty dozen. The fellas at sanitation were calling them that as well. We were paying, Mr. Speaker, sir, $250,000 a month contracting persons to do the work which sanitation was naturally supposed to do. I want to report today, Mr. Speaker, that in the period that 2019 to 2023, we have now bought 33 compactors. I want to repeat, man. The Sanitation Service Authority has bought 33 compactors, with a further 7 arriving in the next 6 to 9 months. I want to repeat it. 33 compactors. And this is in comparison because the mass sometimes on the other side is end up like Calmanonics. It says that 20% is greater than 80. So I don't allow me to make the mistake, colleagues, to say that 11 compactors were purchased between 2008 and 2018. So 11, I know, is less than 33. For my mass and the mass on this side with the Member of Parliament for Christchurch Essential, I know he will correct me. 11 is less. So during the period 2019 to 20 to present, we have purchased 22 more in that short period of time. Mr. Speaker, sir, I ain't gonna mass. We started a residential waste improvement project with technology being used as part of bringing a level of efficiency to the Sanitation Service Authority and allowing the men to have an ease with lifting those big, heavy garbage cans. It is a part of showing that we care for those workers so they won't end up with the rheumatoid arthritis and the other physiological problems associated with lifting those big, heavy beams. We also said that we will put the RFID readers on the bin so we can trace and be able to know how much garbage is being collected so we can optimize routes. It is part of bringing technology to the whole operationalization of the Sanitation Service Authority. Mr. Speaker, sir, and what we say too, because we care, and this government cares about the workers of this country. You heard it from the Member of Parliament of St. Peter. And as a caring government, we say, for the first time in the history of this country, that the SSUA workers must have medical insurance, and that's what we did. So that if they get injured on the job, they'll be able to get a little financial assistance, go and pay for the prescription, get a teeth pulled if they need to. And if by any chance that they have a fatality, their family will be looked after. This is a government that cares, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, we have also increased the allowances for our workers. Yeah, the allowances that they will be on the same scale as other persons in the civil service, Mr. Speaker, sir. We have also constructed a recreational center at the facility and just in the Pine. Mr. Speaker, there is a lot that has been done on behalf of the workers in this country by this government and by my ministry, and we will continue to do right by the people of this country who give us the mandate to do it. In closing, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to just say to you that
I remember, I don't understand, you just spoke about Calmanomics, right? Or Calmamas. I said 2, but you want 22.
Excuse me, Calmanomics, I want to say that today, no, 5 is probably less, 5 is probably less than 2.
I see.
Right, but Mr. Speaker, just in closing, I just want to say, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the book of Proverbs 29, verse 18, the Member of Parliament could correct me if I'm wrong for St. Peter, says that without vision, people will perish. I want to say equally that without vision and good leadership, the people will perish. I want to give Barbadians the calm, quiet, rested assurance that they don't not only have a vision for the next financial year, but they have leadership on this side which will ensure that they have prosperity in this land. Ladies and gentlemen, I oblige.
Honourable Member for St. Michael South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want to begin by commending my colleagues who spoke before. Naturally, I want to support the budget. And all those who spoke before me, sir, who spoke so well and eloquently in relation to their projects and the things that they're doing. So I listened to the speakers, all of them, including the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, sir. And while I, too, am a man prone to like poetry and so on, so I recognize the reference to Julius Caesar when he spoke about stabbing your mother, sir. Julius Caesar, sir, is one of the tragedies in Shakespeare, sir, that is filled with deceit, betrayal, and perfidy. I also listened, sir, to the opposition leader. As he made reference to the Bible, he took us to Genesis. He spoke of the voice of Jacob, the hand of Esau. Sir, a passage filled with betrayal, deceit, and perfidy. The question, sir, that we must ask the opposition leader to reflect on is why his bosom is so burdened with deceit, betrayal, and perfidy. Sir, this is a very serious discussion, sir. And this budget, sir, is perhaps the most important budget of our time. I listened, sir, to the Honourable Prime Minister, sir, and that this budget, sir, will lead to inclusive growth, as the Honourable Member for St. Michael South Central just said, is extremely clear to me. While I was in the well, sir, I made great pains, sir, and effort to ensure, to connect the dots, sir, between why economic growth is important. You need the growth, sir, to create some fiscal space, to engage in social programming, sir, that allows you, sir, to move a people forward, sir. And this is important because this is what is really going to break the cycle of poverty, sir, and transform a nation. I heard the opposition leader, sir, offer me, sir, as the Minister of People Empowerment, of some money. He would give me more money, sir, but to do it, he proposed to cut cadets, cut urban, cut UDC, cut the defense, the security and defense. So my mother was a government security guard after she stopped being a bus conductress, sir. So he planned to send home people like my mother. After the Dems sent her home in 1992 when they cut programming, sir. That is that money, he can keep it. I'm not interested in that kind of money, sir. This budget, sir, will stimulate growth. The kind of growth, sir, that is necessary to propel a nation forward, sir. You must also remember, sir, that when the Democratic Labour Party was in, sir, when they were borrowing, that they were borrowing to pay recurrent expenditure. They were borrowing, sir, to pay wages and to pay salaries and to put on the light, not to pay the NAS, because we heard yesterday that they didn't pay the NAS for government workers, sir. But when this government is engaging in reasonable borrowing, it is to do things, sir, that you will be able to see increase your fixed assets, improve the country. There is a big difference between us and them. Sir, I had the privilege years ago when I was with Global Affairs Canada of managing a public financial management project led by the IMF, but I was team lead for Jamaica. And the things that we are doing is what Jamaica has been trying to do, and other countries across the region has been trying to do. So to come here, sir, and to try to break down a whole project, sir, because he does not understand basic economics, regrettably, is unfortunate. And I do not mean to cast aspersions on the Honourable Member, sir. He isn't here. I wouldn't do it when he's not present. But it's important for us to have these conversations, sir. And sir, I introduced while I was in the world the concept of inclusive prosperity. It is a concept that I want the nation to come to be familiar with, sir. That all of us must be able to benefit from the things that will redound to the country, sir, if we are able to manage this country right. People who traditionally have not been involved in the development process, sir, must be able to get something. There must be something in the deal for every Barbadian, sir. That is why we go to work every day, sir. That is why I am confident that my colleagues are working so hard, sir. And when I look across my ministry, I cannot name a single group that has not seen more. I cannot name one, sir. And I will explain that perhaps in a little bit more detail, sir, if time permits me, sir. But if you look at these estimates, which is the funny thing, you know, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition was saying they got 104 million and da-da-da. Sir, if you look at when the Democratic Labour Party was in, they never saw that kind of money. This is the most money that was ever offered to the social services sector. This government, sir. I am happy to report that I know, sir, before we end this financial year, sir, when we bring back in for the move-ins and so on, sir, we anticipate even more. We anticipate an additional 6 or 7 million more to build up facilities for the elderly, sir, in this country. Because we recognize if there is a problem coming, that we always say you have to face it and fix it, sir. I anticipate, sir, an additional $2 or $3 million for children to build that facility that we described in the child protection legislation. That is going to be so important, sir, to allow us, sir, to work with children. Work with children, sir, so that we could save some of them. You saw there's a video circulating this morning, sir. There are children in this country who need help. And I do hope, sir, when the child protection bill comes back to this parliament, that the honourable member takes the high road. But that's up to him. But I do hope when it comes back, sir, the honourable member takes the high road. The honourable member, sir, also quoted during his rant the former member for St. Peter, the Prime Minister of Barbados, sir. He said, the Prime Minister said he came to stop poor people from being poor. But I remember, sir, that Prime Minister also said you cannot take the low road to high office, but yet he's the opposition leader. You cannot take the low road to high office, yet he's the opposition leader. Tell me which road, sir. And it's important, sir, that when we try to call on the names of great people, that the principles on which we stand align with the principles on which they stood, sir. It is important. And I come to this house, sir, having done a lot of work, so my entire life in communities, sir, social policy, sir, community development and engagement, sir. These are important things. And it's going to be very important that when we start speaking about those who are vulnerable, we do not do it so, sir, for political mileage. And when I listen, sir, to the vitriol that was spouted all yesterday, sir, and the accusations, the innuendo, and the conjecture, it was an unfortunate presentation. The most vituperative things that you could imagine to be said about honourable members, sir. For what? For what? This country, sir, is too precious to all of us, sir. I believe, sir, that there were things that the Democratic Labour Party, not the last set, but the traditionally, would have done for Barbados to propel this country forward. You have to be able to say that there were some things that were done that were good things. And sir, if you do not say so, sir, something is wrong. I mean, all of us, we have to be able to say there were some things that the Labour Party did that were good. There were some things that the Democratic Labour Party did that were good. Because, sir, governance and government is a continuum. We build on what the other party would have done. Unfortunately, sir, when we went through the figures yesterday, you would have heard that the Democratic Labour Party between 2008 and 2018 is one of the few governments that did not build the economy. They did not build on what they were given. In fact, sir, the Bible speaks of talents. I don't know if they're buried there, sir, but they surely did not do anything with it. Sir, I also feel very concerned, sir, that yesterday everything in the Barbados Labour Party government was wrong. Everything. The honourable leader of the opposition could not find anything that the Barbados Labour Party did that was good. And you know, sir, the Bible teaches us in John, sir, that if we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. Then it seems to me that he thinks the Democratic Labour Party has no sin, sir, and that all the sin is located here in the Barbados Labour Party. But when you look at what we've done, when you listen to members, sir, each of them, one by one, individual by individual, talking about the things that they would have done, sir. When you look at the leadership of the Honourable Prime Minister, and you compare that to the leadership of the Honourable former Prime Minister of this country, sir, chalk and cheese. I ask honourable members in this place, sir, to remember what it was like when we were approaching the election in 2018, sir. We could not recognize our own country. You know the song, sir, taken from the Bible verse, sir, by the rivers of Babylon? When they asked us to come and sing, sir, songs And we asked, how can we sing songs, sir, in this strange land? It was a strange land, sir. We now remember what Barbados was like, sir. Children have hope. I remember having conversations with some of my constituents, having to decide if they're going to send school their son or if they're going to send school their daughter. Not so long ago, sir, we came in, sir, we made a lot of difference in this country, sir. It is a shameful thing when we take these things for political mileage, sir. In my ministry, sir, I'll be very quick. In my ministry, sir, I have had responsibility now for leading the Ministry of People Empowerment, sir. We began yesterday, sir, when the Honourable Leader of the Opposition spoke by making reference to the Down Syndrome Association, sir, for persons with Down syndrome. But by then, we'd already spoken to the Down Syndrome Association. I'd already spoken to the member for St. James North. We'd already spoken to the Prime Minister, and we'd already agreed that we were going to rectify it so that any person with a disability who cannot function, sir, and who needs the financial support would get that support. This government has done more for persons with disabilities than any other government. That is a fact. It is clear, sir, in the policy that we have, that we've established, sir, that will be coming to this House for debate. It is clear, sir, in the Hinkson Commission, in the work that would have been done, sir, in the 60 to 70 meetings that we had with the community, sir. It is clear, sir, in all of the legislative work that will be coming here, sir, to protect persons with disabilities. It is clear in the 40% increase that we gave to all of the NGOs associated with the ministry that do work for persons with disabilities, sir. It is clear in the vehicles that we bought and the two that we will buy every year for the next 3 years to make sure that they can travel, sir, safely, sir. This government, without question, has done more for persons with disabilities than any other government, sir, on the elderly. On the elderly, sir. This government, sir, has finished its policy. The legislation is in draft. You just heard me say we're putting $7 million more into facilities. We built, sir, the old Barbados Labour Party built Vauxhall. We came back and we renovated Vauxhall. You have to go see it. Brand new. We are working, sir, with the NGOs in that space too to be able to make sure, sir, that as our population ages, that we put in place the systems to be able to protect them. Sir, we cannot play politics with the lives of people, sir. I've met so many old people, seniors I should say, who have seen me on the road, sir, and have said to me, Kurt Humphrey or Minister, I want to thank you. I want to thank the government for what they're doing, sir. You see this elder care program, sir? And you must remember, sir, that during COVID, when people were sending home people, this government brought on 420 persons to look after the elderly, sir. 420. And when people were saying they were going to be sent home because the opposition leader has convenient memory, he doesn't want to talk about these things, you see? Sir, it was this government that said we are not sending home a single one of them. They are all working today with NAS being paid. They get sick days, vacation days, and in this budget, sir, they get in uniforms, sir. This government looking after the workers, sir, who have to take care of the older persons, sir. I want to thank the staff at the National Assistance Board and the National Disabilities Unit. I want to thank the staff in the Ministry of People Empowerment. They've been outstanding, sir, in the way that they have delivered to the people who are hurting in this country. Yesterday, my phone was on fire. I could use the word buzz, but anything that buzzes bothers the member for Christchurch South. But the country, sir, is abuzz like my phone was. People calling me, sir, members of the disabled community, one in particular, sir, I have to tell you about, sir, said to me, I have been hoping for this moment for over 20 years. We have negotiated with other governments, hoping to get a chance where persons in this country, sir, who have disabilities can get some financial support because it has been hard. We never thought it was going to happen in our lifetime, sir. The person messaged me and said, I am sending you this message with tears in my eyes, sir. This government, sir, cares about the most vulnerable, sir. We then expanded, sir, to make sure that we have taken on a new department, sir, that we call the Resilience and Reintegration, sir, to be able to cope with persons who are displaced, sir, because we live in a climate crisis. And we are dealing with people, sir, who are burdened. The number of persons, sir, that since we started this unit that we have been able to help, sir, is surprisingly large. And I keep asking my staff, sir, every day, I know you're tired. I know that some of these people can be difficult and hard to deal with, sir, because hurting people hurt people. The workers in the Ministry of People Empowerment are humans too. But I've said to them, sir, just dig a little bit deeper. Give a little bit more. Because the transformation that is necessary, the transformation that will take us from where we are, sir, where people are broken and need help, sir, requires that the staff and that the ministry digs a little bit deeper, sir. I am proud of the staff in the ministry. There's some who came here yesterday and called public servants liars. You are not going to hear that from me. I am proud. This government is proud of the public servants in this country. Sir, I cannot say that we have been perfect, but no government is. But we have done a lot to support this country. We have done a lot, sir, to propel the country. We have done a lot, sir, to take care of the most vulnerable in this country, sir. I've asked some of my colleagues, sir, I won't name them, but I've asked some of my colleagues in the 1,000 Family Program, sir, to support, as we've asked the wider public, to support some of the more vulnerable families. Give a little something. Give a chicken. If you can, put some financial assistance if you can, sir. And most of the ones that I have asked, sir, have already stood up and more are coming. I put the challenge, sir, to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Stop talking. Do something for the people, sir. Because it is the people of this country that need help. It is the people who put us here, sir. We did not come here, sir, most of us anyway. We did not take these positions, sir, by betrayal and deceit and perfidy, sir. My conscience, like the colleagues that I sit with, like their conscience, my conscience is clear, sir. And I know, sir, that we are working every single day to make life better for people. Yesterday, the PM said as I close, sir, that this budget has to be about growth, it has to be about resilience, and it has to be people-centric, sir. This country, sir, must think about these things. If COVID were to come tomorrow, would you trust what you've seen of the opposition? I have said, sir, during the estimates debate that we are pretty much guaranteed another pandemic at some time. And the world has predicted it so. Will you trust the future of your children to what you have seen, sir? Or do you trust a government, sir, that can come here and say to you that have bought garbage trucks, bought buses, you can see us paving the roads, making efforts, sir, to reform the Ministry of Education. And don't let nobody fool you, we have to reform the Ministry of Education. And I, sir, am a beneficiary of free education, sir. I am not like the Dems. I will not kick down the ladder on which I was able to rise, sir. But I do know that if it stays the way it is, we will not be able to reap the most of what Barbados has to offer. And that is all that we are saying, sir. When I was a student of leadership, my professor used to say that leadership is an improvisational art. It is an improvisation. You gotta try a thing. If it doesn't work, you try something else. But you have to ask the people that you're leading to trust you enough to give you the space to engineer, to try things, sir. We know for sure that if we stay on this course, peril is before us, sir, in terms of education. I commend the Honourable Leader of Education, Minister of Education, for the work that she is doing, sir. It will save this country. Sir, it will save this country. Sir, as I close, sir, I just want to remind the people of Barbados, sir, that it is a very dangerous thing when someone tries to paint an entire picture of disenchantment for an entire nation, in the hope that on that wave of disenchantment, they can, sir, float to high office, sir. Because what you do, sir, you know, when you sow the wind, you gotta reap the whirlwind. And when, sir, you let go the chickens, you know the chickens will come home to roost. All I am saying, sir, is that this country, sir, is too near and too dear to my heart, sir. Every day in the ministry, sir, I am hearing people saying that they're seeing some changes, sir. Things are happening. And I want to commend all of my colleagues, sir. I want to commend the Honourable Prime Minister, sir, for the budget that she brought before this House, sir. You know, it must be a difficult thing, sir, after COVID, in an IMF program, sir, to bring 2 consecutive budgets of no new taxes. It's not easy. And when we do things that are so good for the country and make them look easy, sir, perhaps that is the problem. But this, sir, is one of the best budgets, sir. You've heard it, sir, from the Private Sector Association. You've heard it from the persons with disabilities, sir. You've heard it from people on the blocks I just came from in town. You heard it from the people in town. The only person who don't think it was a good budget, sir, is the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I want to close, sir, absolutely no, sir, by reminding the Honourable Leader, because he said we did nothing. Now, when I was Minister of Maritime, sir, did we not fix Oystins Market? Is there not a plaque with my name and his in Oystins Market? Did we not put on, sir, countertop, sir, that was able to make sure we met phytosanitary standards? Sir, did we not put, sir, renovations, sir, totaling nearly $2 million to fix the jetty in Oystins for fishermen? Are those not ordinary people? Didn't we put photovoltaic panels on the roof, sir, for the people in Oystins? Are those not ordinary people, sir? So when you tell me that we didn't do anything for ordinary people, you probably don't know what we did for the people in Oystins, or you don't know you don't go in Oystins. At the end of the day, sir, this government has done more for ordinary people, sir, than any other government. I am proud to be associated with it, and I fully support this essence.
Honourable Member for St. George South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to join the debate to offer my words of support to these budgetary proposals laid in this chamber 2 days ago by the Honourable Member for St. Michael Northeast. But I will join my good friend for St. Michael South and offer the congratulations to my colleagues who, in my view, and in others who messaged me to give various comments on those who spoke before me, including the member who just sat down. But, Mr. Speaker, it gives me great honor as a product of my community to stand here representing my constituents in St. George South for the 10th time in this Lord Chamber. It's indeed an honor, Mr. Speaker, that I know some members don't have, but they represent people too. But to represent where you're from is indeed an honor, and I hold this honor very close to my heart and dear. As I listened yesterday to the tirade of the current and soon-to-be outgoing member of Christchurch South, I took the measure of the moment and recognized that I had 2 choices in my response today. To be angry and indignant at the blatant political posturing and scurrility of the former colleague, or to be more measured and strategic in directing the public's attention to the work we are doing in housing on behalf of the people of St. George South and wider Barbados. But, Mr. Speaker, it hit home to me while traveling last night behind the member for St. Peter and the member for St. Michael's South. My good friend, the member for St. Philip South, and I, we left together following those 2 members. And it hit home to me that I have a number of persons who have shaped my value system. And for me, Mr. Speaker and colleagues, to come here and to disrespect the late Rock sisters and the late Groveners and the late and present Lashleys at the Elton Wesley Holiness Church, to disrespect our spiritual coaches
And to disrespect the members of the church community would indeed be an injustice to who I am as a person. So, Mr. Speaker, I got the answer while driving home. And Mr. Speaker, Galatians 5, verses 22 and 23 is what I will premise my presentation on, and be resilient, focused, and stoic today. And it goes like this. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. And that is where I am. I am so settled in my choice, Mr. Speaker, is to be obedient to the Word of God and address the concerns raised in a spirit of kindness, sympathy, and empathy. As it is clear, Mr. Speaker, that the leader of the opposition is out to sea in shark-infested waters. He's in shark-infested waters. And he's very much still in search of a safe harbor if we are to go by the sensationalism, member for Christchurch, West Central, and the hyperbole that he engaged in yesterday. Mr. Speaker, that is where I am. So with my time, let me begin briefly by clarifying a few matters, Mr. Speaker, for the public, especially, and to reinforce for the members in this chamber who know differently. Mr. Speaker, Hope Inc., Hope Ownership Providing Energy, and the member for Christchurch West, he started it yesterday, was set up by the government of Barbados to provide housing for ordinary Barbadians in this country. Ordinary Barbadians. And the acronym HOPE came from this government, Home Ownership Providing Energy. And the member for St. Michael South spoke to growth, resilient, and people-centered. And that's what the member for St. Michael Northeast premised this budget on. And the acronym acutely represents every single one of those strategic intents. Home ownership providing energy. Homes to provide growth, resilient, the energy aspect of it, utilizing photovoltaic to drive the cost down for home ownership, and indeed people-centered in that it will empower and enfranchise the ordinary Barbadians. But Mr. Speaker, these people are the persons that we set up Hope to cater to, are ordinary Barbadians. Teachers, nurses, firemen, policemen, gas station workers, teachers. Mr. Speaker, at the announcement that this government intends to build the 10,000 homes that the member scoffed at, and I'm going to speak to that later. The project at Vesper Gardens, and he was wrong when he spoke to 133 houses. We are building 154 houses at Vesper Gardens. He was wrong about most things, and I will correct him this afternoon. Over 4,000 applicants. The said ordinary Barbadians that he claimed to love, and he's cursing the housing program, which showed to me that he don't love these ordinary Barbadians. 4,000 applicants applied for the 154 housing solutions at Vesper Gardens. I will repeat for the public. 4,000 plus applicants applied for those houses at Vesper Gardens, 154 houses. And Mr. Speaker, Hope is such a revolution that there's nowhere other than in Barbados that you can own a 2-bedroom wall house for $172,000. There's nowhere in the world except in Barbados that you can own a 3-bedroom wall house for $227,500. We took the opportunity to invest in our people by saying to these people, you will pay for the house, but we will utilize photovoltaics to finance and pay for the land and the infrastructure by taking the roofs. And I'm pleased to report to the public today that we have formed the Hope SPV to focus on the photovoltaics on the roof so that these ordinary Barbadians can live the dream of owning a piece of this rock. But Mr. Speaker, the honorable member and soon-to-be former member for Christchurch South said that Hope was a private company. Let me tell the public and remind the chamber that Hope is a commercial state-owned enterprise with government being the only and sole shareholder of that state-owned enterprise, commercial state-owned enterprise, and it is not a private company. Mr. Speaker, I will repeat this. Hope Inc., Hope Ownership Providing Energy, is a commercial state-owned enterprise with the government of Barbados being the sole shareholder, and it is not a private company. It has a board of directors that were set up by the Cabinet of Barbados, where we don't intervene in the daily operations. It is similar to Grantley Adams International Airport. It is similar to Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. It is similar to the QEH. So I listened yesterday. Some interruptions, I must say, by me and by others, because we like to correct. But that is what was said yesterday, that Hope is a private company. Member for St. Joseph, you recall being part of this? And we know that it was grossly misleading and erroneous to the public of Barbados when the member for Christchurch South and soon to be former member got in this chamber and misled the public. He misled the public. And he has to come back to the public and say sorry. But then again, he does things without recognizing the people. So I don't expect him to come and say, I misled the public. We will correct the public. He went on further to say, Mr. Speaker, that the land is given to Hope. Mr. Speaker, the state land is vested in Hope. Yes, it's not given to Hope. Land vested in NHC is converted or transferred to Hope at a cost $2.50 per square foot. But why are we doing this? We are doing this to keep the cost of home ownership down for the ordinary Barbadian. We recognize as a government, we have to subsidize, I hate to use the word, but we have to make it affordable. So we decided to cap the cost of services and the cost of land. We are not selling at market value. We are transferring the lands to Hope so that the persons I just mentioned, the ordinary Barbadians that he disassociated himself from yesterday, on the one hand, he wants to talk about class and color and social divide, and at the other hand, he wants to disassociate himself from the ordinary people as it relates to housing. He don't know whether he's fish or frog. Or good red herring. He has a problem. So, Mr. Speaker, he went on further, and Mr. Speaker, I want to make this letter that he referred to, a letter insinuating that there's something nefarious or sinister with respect to this letter that he read yesterday and claimed he don't want to call names. I am going to call names. Because, Mr. Speaker, this letter is a letter that I can give to my good friend, my goddaughter. She can take to her school and she can share with any single member of the public to say that the chief executive officer, there, sir, lands to be allocated to Hope under the 10,000 housing project. There's no secret to this letter. We come here every week, member for Christchurch East mostly, and we vest land. Well, we know he only comes to mark his name and then he leaves. Or at lunchtime. I won't go further with that. Because I don't think he's a hungry man, but it's very strange he comes here during lunchtime. All the time. Only during lunchtime. But he has been absent from this chamber, so when I come here, you can refer to the Hansard and you can see that most of our debates relate to vesting of lands in Hope or National Housing Corporation. Member for Christchurch East, on my line, he lied to the public yesterday. But this so-called nefarious and sinister letter that he produced was written by the general manager of NHC to say to Hope, and member for St. Michael Southeast, you know which land is in here too? Lower Burnie. Lower Burnie is in here, 20 acres. It has 15 sites identified by the general manager of NHC. He was transparent to allow Hope to know these are the lands that we'll invest in Hope. Why? Because Hope will build houses for the ordinary people in this country. That is why we come to this chamber to vest. It speaks to Branchbury West, member for St. George, if you know this place. Yes, sir. Branchbury West. Member for St. Lucie, you know Bright Hall, St. Lucie? 40 acres. Member for St. John, you know Colleton, St. John? 27 acres, thumbs up. Member for St. George, you know Cottage, St. George? Yep. Member for St. Philip, you know Golden Grove, St. Philip? Yep. Guinea, St. John again? Yep. Harmony Cottage, St. George? Low Burnie, member for St. Michael, South East? Lowlands again in St. Lucie? Marchfield in St. Philip? Yep. Market Hill in St. George? Nestfield in St. Lucie? Padmore Village in St. Philip? Shorey Village in St. Andrew? Colleton in St. Lucie again? Member for, Mr. Speaker, 478 acres that can translate into 5,579 housing solutions for ordinary Barbadians. And he is referring to this as some sinister and nefarious document. Well, I have made it a document to the House, and I want to thank the General Manager for NHC for indeed be transparent and above board and letting Hope know that these are the lands we will transfer to them. But we ain't finished there, you know. We ain't finished there. That is only half the amount of land that we will transfer to Hope. That is only half the amount of land we will transfer to Hope. And we can't bring all one-time minister within the Ministry of Finance, you know. We bring some now, and we bring some later. But these are 5,000 housing solutions. Pepper might get one of these houses. But, Mr. Speaker, this is a level of transparency. There's nothing nefarious and sinister about what was done by the general manager. But that is what the public servants fear. Because when the member for Christchurch South can come in here and try to unfair a general manager of a National Housing Corporation, that is the cynicism that the public servants have with people like the member for St. Michael South.
Not St. Michael.
For Christchurch South. When you can do stuff like this, read out a letter and insinuate that there was something nefarious with what was done by the general manager of the National Housing Corporation. He was above board. But, Mr. Speaker, you know, this member for St. Michael South interfered with me
St. Michael South, honorable member.
For Christchurch South. The member for St. Michael South is my good friend. The member for Christchurch South interfere with me. And the member for St. Michael South give me good advice on how to deal with him. That's why I'm calling the member for St. Michael South. That's my good friend. But Mr. Speaker, I heard the member mention that Hope Inc. got $40 million from the Housing Credit Fund. But Mr. Speaker, again, he misled the public. He misled the public again. Hope Inc. borrowed $56 million from the Housing Credit Fund. Let me break it down. $40 million for Hope Inc., for the houses at Vesper and the other sites we have identified to build. The 154 houses at Vesper Gardens that persons will move into shortly. I will take him with me. If he's so obliged, I will take him. I will pick him up as well and take him to see the handover of keys at Vesper Gardens in less than a week. But the $40 million was borrowed from the Housing Credit Fund, plus $16.586 million borrowed to fund the purchase of Jorvilla houses out of Guyana, makes it $56.586 million, borrowed at an interest of 1.15% to be repaid by the 31st of March, 2029. Why I'm going there, Mr. Speaker? Why I'm going there, Mr. Speaker? The member for Christchurch South has aligned himself with the Democratic Labour Party. And Mr. Speaker, the facts would have it that the Democratic Labour Party took $75 million from the Housing Credit Fund, $75 million from the Housing Credit Fund to build the grotto and to build Valerie. The money was paid directly to the builder, and to date, they have not repaid the Housing Credit Fund.
What? Shameful. Shameful.
I will repeat.
Shameful.
Hope Inc. has borrowed $56 million to be paid by Hope Incorporated, Hope Inc. Hope. They have borrowed, and not 40, $56 million at an interest rate of 1.15% to be repaid due the 31st of March, 2029. But the Democratic Labour Party, that the member for Christchurch South has hitched his wagon against, borrowed $75 million from the Housing Credit Fund to build Grotto and Valerie and has not paid it back.
What year that happened? What year that happened?
Under the dens between 2008 and 2018.
That's what $100 million now.
Mr. Speaker, the public, you must know these things. I will be sympathetic and kind to the member for Christchurch South because he's ignorant to these things. He has hitched his wagon against the Democratic Labour Party. I cannot forgive him for that, but I will let the public know the facts. But that is not all, Mr. Speaker. This member came in here to criticize Hope Inc. This member came in here to criticize Reform Hope because we saw the bankrupt nature of National Housing Corporation. I can get there, Mr. Speaker. I beg him for a little more time because I have to educate the public, because this member came into this chamber and he said that this government is about to close down National Housing Corporation. He said that. Stick a pin on that. Stick a pin on that. Having utilized all of the General Workers Loan Fund, the last administration, the General Workers Loan Fund was a fund that any person who was building a home, it was administered by National Housing Corporation, can indeed borrow money from that fund to put on a little toilet and bath member for the city. We understand this thing because we talk about this regular. They can borrow the money to buy land. They can borrow the money to do home improvement. The Democratic Labour Party, that the member for Christchurch South has hitched his wagon against, spent 10 million of the General Workers Loan Fund money to the point now that it is bankrupt. And the workers can't get any funding to do any home improvement. That is what happened at NHC.
Shameful.
That is what happened at NHC. So when he talk about forming hope, because what hope will do, and hope has started to do, to drop the cost of building in this country to affordable levels so that persons can own their own home. You know how much the Grotto and Valerie were built at? Do you know how much? Let me tell you all. $653 per square foot. And one at $651 a square foot. That is Sandy Lane prices. Under the last administration that the member for Christchurch South has hitched his wagon against.
$900 now.
He hitched his wagon against the Dems. You know what's $651 a square foot back in 2014? Look at inflation and see how much that is now. Ask me how much we are building at. Hope. Ask me how much we are building at.
How much you building at?
Yes. Members and the public, we are building at less than $380 a square foot. Mr. Speaker, this government has made it easier for persons to own their own home. And I'm going now to the issues, Mr. Speaker, bear with me, I'm going now to the issues that the member for St. Michael Northeast has placed in her budgetary proposals. She has placed in her budgetary proposals the challenges that we face in housing in this country in terms of access to mortgages, timely access, the ease of doing business in terms of land transactions in this country. When we have 119 mortgage applicants over the last 6 months with the lending institutions and persons can't get into their home, when we have another 39 with another lending institution, and there's liquidity from what you can see in the estimates, over $2 billion member for Christchurch East Central, the liquidity in this system, in the banking system, there's access to money. But because of the bureaucracy with the transfer of titles and land in this country and conveyancing, that's the challenge with ownership. And let me say this to you, this government has a different policy with respect to home ownership than the last administration. The last administration focused on rental. This government focuses on empowerment and enfranchisement of giving persons the opportunity to own their own home and not just renting it. And that's the fundamental difference, because you can build the high rise like they did at $651 per square foot, and you can put people in them to rent.
Yeah.
Mind you, they have bankrupt national housing because when we came to office, the old persons owed national housing over $7 million in rental arrears. So when we talk about forming hope, and when we talk about addressing the issues at National Housing. And the member for Christchurch South can come in here and tell a blatant lie that we're about to shut down National Housing. The fear-mongering among the staff he's trying to create. And I came here today to clear it up. Because how you can want to shut down National Housing when we have forecast some $43.4 million from joint venture arrangement, private-public partnerships to build houses in this country. And I can talk about them. I can talk about them.
I remember you have 5 more minutes.
Mr. Speaker, we have here listed joint ventures for National Housing Corporation for the year 2024-2025. Projected revenue of $2.156 million. $2.156 million from joint venture partnerships. In that, National Housing, skin in the game is the land. And the private investor do the infrastructure and build the houses and we sell. We keep using the word off budget because we're not utilizing the consolidated fund to build homes in this country. We're utilizing the liquidity in the banking sector. And National Housing is compensated for the land while the investor sells the home and he or she is paid at the sale of the land, at the sale of the house. 2024-2025, we are projecting some 154 housing solutions. Brighton, St. George, St. Bartholomew, Christchurch, Coveley, Christchurch, Ebenezer, St. Philip, Jones in Christchurch, Westers in St. James. We are projecting 154 housing solutions. And the member for Christchurch South don't like the word solutions. Because that's why they're where they are, because they never offered for any solutions to this country to solve any of its problems. So he has a problem with the word solutions. Whether it's housing, it's agriculture, whether it is investment. He has a problem, whether it is roads. He has a problem with the word solutions. But National Housing Corporation is a viable entity. And we have repurposed National Housing to focus on maintenance of estates. And we have started with discussions with the trade union movement, both unions. We have recognized both bargaining units, the NUPW and the Barbados Workers Union. We have had discussions, preliminary discussions. And NHC will be repurposed. And NHC will become financially viable without the drain or the strain on the consolidated fund. And that is what we are doing at National Housing. So when the honourable member, the opposition leader, soon to be former member for Christchurch South, gets in here and speaks to shutting down National Housing and trying to create the fear-mongering among the staff, it is not a good thing to do. That is not what we're about. We're about offering solutions and repurposing institutions fit for purpose. Fit for purpose. And I will end on one other strategic intent listed in the budgetary proposals, the use of derelict and vacant lots. We have some 29,000 applicants for houses at National Housing Corporation. Huh? So I don't know how we can shut down an institution. We want to build so many houses, and National Housing alone cannot do it. That's why Hope was formed. That's why we have offered like Gaze Steel houses. That's why we have offered Joe Villa houses. That's why we have offered several options for ordinary Barbadians so that they can choose what they want to fit their pockets. That's why we have done it. But Mr. Speaker, these different options that we have offered the citizens of this country were never offered before in the history of politics in this country. This is the first government. I want to thank the member for St. Michael Northeast. And as the member just sat down, the other member misled the chamber, member for Christchurch East, by saying that the new CEO doesn't have a work permit. Member, does he have a work permit? Christchurch, so sorry, he has a work permit. the CEO of Hope has a work permit. He misled the chamber again and the public. And the member for Christchurch East can tell you, he presides over that ministry, he can tell you when the work permit was granted to the new CEO.
I remember it's time to wind up.
Dishonorable conduct in this chamber. I will have more time to speak in this chamber on the honorable member for Christchurch South, soon to be former member for Christchurch South. And I keep repeating that because we have a plan for him. Speeding up the conveyancing, rehabilitation of derelict properties. We have over 25,000 derelict and vacant lot properties on these lands. And the reason why we are focusing in the budget on derelict properties, because the derelict properties are located where sites and services are in abundance. So the cost of providing a housing solution, or as he wants me to say, a home, will indeed be reduced because we don't have to focus on the high infrastructure costs that we otherwise would have to focus on when we are going into greenfield ventures for housing.
I remember.
So, Mr. Speaker, it gives me pleasure this afternoon to be part of the budgetary proposals. While my time was limited, Mr. Speaker,
It was?
I have several
I remember. I didn't hear you just say that. What short time as was? I remember.
While my time could have been a bit more.
I didn't know that. I didn't hear that either. I didn't hear
Mr.
that
Speaker,
either.
nonetheless, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I didn't get into the strategic objectives that I listed, 5 of them. But I want to say that housing is in good hands in this country under the Barbados Labour Party. And I want to say and echo the words from Pike Corner to Bayfield, to the city, to St. George, to St. Joseph. We have housing solutions from St. James to St. John. We have housing solutions for our people in this country, and we will not be short of providing them, either through NHC or through Hope. I want to thank you, and with those words, Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 10 minutes past 5.
The question is that this Honourable Chairman be suspended until 10 minutes after 5. All of our members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. This chamber stands suspended until 10 minutes after 5.